Tonight, we're exploring every unforgivable Harry Potter mystery that J.K. Rowling never explained. This is a fascinating topic, but I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off to sleep. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. Imagine you're standing in the heart of the Ministry of Magic. You're in a room that is cold, silent, and ancient, surrounded by tiered stone benches that feel like a graveyard for secrets. In the center of this room stands a single stone archway, crumbling at the edges, supporting a tattered, translucent black veil that ripples as if caught in a wind that no one else can feel. You hear the whispers, faint overlapping voices of people you have lost, calling out from just behind the fabric. This is the Death Chamber, and for over 20 years it has remained one of the most haunting, frustrating, and completely unexplained landmarks in the entire wizarding world. When Sirius Black fell through that curtain in 1996, he didn't just leave Harry behind, he fell into a narrative void that J.K. Rowling never saw fit to fill. We don't know who built the archway, we don't know if it is a portal or a prison, and we don't know why the Ministry of Magic was literally constructed around it. This is the reality of the Harry Potter universe. For 7 books and 8 films, we followed the boy who lived through a world of whimsy and terror, believing that every spell, every artifact, and every strange creature was part of a meticulously crafted clockwork machine. We assumed that if we looked closely enough, the internal logic would reveal itself. But as the years have passed since the publication of the Deathly Hallows, in 2007 the cracks in the foundation have only grown wider. There are gaps in the lore so massive they threaten to swallow the entire story. We are talking about fundamental questions that go far beyond simple plot holes. These are mysteries that touch upon the very nature of life, death, and the fabric of reality itself within the magical world. Why is it that magic exists at all? In a world where every potion has a recipe and every charm has a specific wand movement, the actual source of magical energy remains a total vacuum. There is no origin story for the first wizard. There is no explanation for why one twin might be born with the power to level a building while the other is a squib who can barely see a Dementor. It is treated as a biological fact, yet it defies every law of biology we know. And what about the children? We spend 7 years at Hogwarts, but the first decade of a magical child's life is a complete ghost story. In a society governed by the Statute of Secrecy of 1692, how does a community keep thousands of untrained, volatile magical toddlers from accidentally revealing the entire hidden world every time they have a temper tantrum? The silence on early wizarding education is deafening, suggesting a massive lapse in the world building that Rowling simply bypassed to get to the platform 9 3/4. And then we have the artifacts, the objects that drive the plot but refuse to obey the rules. Consider the Marauders Map. It is a masterpiece of magical engineering created by 4 teenagers in the late 1970s, yet it possesses a level of surveillance capability that the Ministry of Magic can't even replicate. More importantly, it creates one of the most glaring inconsistencies in the entire saga. For 2 full years, Fred and George Weasley owned that map. They spent their nights scouring the corridors of Hogwarts, looking for every secret passage and every wandering soul. And yet, we are expected to believe they never once noticed that their younger brother Ron was sleeping every single night with a man named Peter Pettigrew. They never saw the name of a dead man walking the halls or huddled in Gryffindor Tower. The map doesn't lie, but the narrative seems to hope that we won't notice the truth. The stakes of these mysteries are higher than just fan trivia. They represent the boundaries of the world we love. When we talk about the Fidelius charm, we are talking about the very magic that was supposed to keep Harry's parents safe. We are told it is a soul-binding secret, yet the mechanics of how that secret is passed, how it can be broken, and why it wasn't used more effectively during the height of the Wizarding Wars remain frustratingly vague. Why did Dumbledore, the most powerful wizard of the age, not simply make himself the secret keeper for the Potters? Why are there no counter-curses for a spell that relies on the human heart? The more you dig into the specifics of the magic, the more you realise that the wizarding world is built on a series of don't ask questions. Tonight, we're going to ask those questions. We're going to look at the things that don't add up, from the selective lethality of basilisk venom to the bizarre legal status of love potions, which are essentially mind-controlled drugs sold in candy shops to teenagers. We are going to examine the strange case of Harry's glasses, a boy who can survive the killing curse and regrow bones overnight, but is defeated by a slight astigmatism that no spell can apparently fix. We will dive into the Department of Mysteries, exploring the rooms filled with brains, the jars of time, and the locked door of love that Rowling teased but never truly opened. We will look at the creatures that haunt the periphery, like the Thestrals. Harry saw his mother die when he was a year old. He saw the killing curse hit her. He lived in a house of death. Yet he couldn't see the skeletal horses until he watched Cedric Diggory die in the graveyard. The explanation usually given is one of emotional comprehension, but that feels like a convenient bandage over a logic gap. And what of Fawkes the Phoenix, a creature of infinite loyalty and rebirth who disappears the moment his master falls from the astronomy tower, leaving behind a trail of questions about where these mythical beings actually come from and why they choose to serve. This journey will take us through the ancient history of the Peverell brothers and the legend of the Deathly Hallows, questioning whether Harry truly became the Master of Death, or if that title was just another fairy tale told to comfort the living. We will look at the mutilated, infant-like form of Voldemort in the King's Cross limbo, a haunting image that represents the ultimate fate of a broken soul, yet remains an unexplained enigma of the afterlife. The wizarding world is a place of wonder, but it is also a place of profound shadows. J.K. Rowling gave us the map, but she left many of the most dangerous and intriguing territories marked only with "Here be monsters." By the time we finish tonight, we will have shone a light into those dark corners, piecing together the fragments of lore, the discarded theories, and the canon contradictions to understand the true scale of what was left unsaid. Whether it was by design or by oversight, these mysteries are now ours to solve. The train is leaving the station, the veil is fluttering in the wind, and the whispers are getting louder. It is time to uncover the secrets that were never meant to be told. July 21st, 2007. The day Deathly Hallows landed in bookstores worldwide, capping off a decade-long saga that gripped millions. Harry Potter survives the Battle of Hogwarts, Voldemort crumbles to dust, and we flip to that epilogue on platform 9 3/4, 19 years later. Kids board the train, life goes on. It's tidy, isn't it? A bow on the chaos. But as you set the book down, that quiet satisfaction starts to crack. Questions bubble up, unaddressed, hanging in the air like the whispers from the veil. J.K. Rowling poured her soul into those 7 volumes, from The Philosopher's Stone in 1997 to this finale. She wrapped the central plot, Harry's defeat of the Dark Lord, with emotional precision. Ron and Hermione kiss in the Chamber of Secrets. Neville slays Nagini. The Elder Wand finds its master. Yet beneath the victory parade, vast chambers of the wizarding world remain shadowed. Rowling stepped back after publication, her creator's voice falling silent on the deepest lore. No grand codex followed. No encyclopedia of enchantments. Interviews trickled out. Pottermore notes filled minor blanks, like what became of Hagrid's half-brother Grawp. But the foundational riddles? They echoed unanswered. Fans pored over passages, forums lit up with theories, yet the author retreated, leaving a void that deepened with time. Why? Perhaps to preserve the wonder, or maybe the magic's edges frayed under scrutiny she never intended to invite. This silence isn't negligence, It's the hallmark of soft magic world building. That ethereal style where spells shimmer without blueprints. Think of Dumbledore's phoenix tears dissolving basilisk venom in the chamber, or the Fidelius charm folding Grimmauld Place into secrecy within a single soul. These aren't engineered like a wheel of time turners with strict hourglass limits. They're poetic, intuitive forces, love as the ultimate shield against Avada Kedavra, the resurrection stone summoning shades from beyond the grave. Brandon Sanderson coined the term soft magic for worlds like Middle-earth or Narnia, where the unexplained heightens awe, propels the hero's journey without bogging down in physics. Rowling mastered it. Hogwarts thrums with mystery. Ghosts drifting through walls, house elves snapping fingers to clean feasts, the sorting hat divining destinies from ancient consciousness. You feel the pulse of an ancient living cosmos, not a lab experiment. But here's where the frustration creeps in, that itch you can't scratch. Soft magic thrives on vagueness for storytelling, yet Harry Potter's scale demands more. 7 books span centuries of hinted history, from Godric Gryffindor's sword, forged in goblin silver, to the Peverell brothers' medieval legend. The wizarding world brushes against Muggle reality under the Statute of Secrecy since 1692, yet its bones stay buried. Hard law gaps yawn open, the origin of magic itself, the veil's rippling curtains swallowing Sirius' black hole. Why Dumbledore pierced Harry's invisibility cloak without a whisper of the spell. These aren't plot conveniences, they're structural voids in a universe built to reward scrutiny. Fans crave the hard rules, the mechanics of a phoenix's loyalty, the soul-binding precision of the Fidelius, the Marauders Map blind spots during the Chamber's horrors. Rowling's soft veil worked for the tale's momentum, but post-finale, it morphed into unforgivable omissions. You close the book, and the real questions howl. That 2007 conclusion sealed the saga's heart, but unlocked a labyrinth of the unexplained. Rowling's lingering void isn't emptiness, it's invitation, a call to dwell in the shadows she sketched so vividly. Thestrals pulling carriages unseen until death's comprehension dawns. Time turners shattered in the Department of Mysteries, their infinite loops forever silenced. Love potions peddled openly at Hogwarts, mind control shrugged off as adolescent folly. These aren't footnotes. They're the wizarding world's pulsing arteries, left to beat without maps. Over the next 4.5 hours, we'll plunge into every one of these unforgivable mysteries that defy logic, dissecting canon line by line, timeline by timeline, from the Potter Cottage massacre in 1981 to the King's Cross limbo vision of Voldemort's shriveled form. No fan theory unchallenged, no Rowling tweet taken as gospel. You'll walk the Death Chamber's stone floors, hear the Veil's murmurs up close, question why Fawkes chose Dumbledore alone. But first we must confront the genesis itself. What sparked the first wand flick? Where does magic come from? That's the void at the heart of it all, pulling every other riddle into orbit. Up next, Chapter 2. The Genesis Problem. Where does magic come from? As we peel back the layers of that frustrating void left by the Deathly Hallows in 2007, one gap yawns wider than all the rest, swallowing the very foundation of J.K. Rowling's wizarding world. Wizards and witches cast spells in 1991 as if they've always done so, their wands flicking fire and feathers from thin air, yet nowhere in 7 thick volumes does anyone pause to whisper how it all began. Picture the bustling corridors of Hogwarts that first September, Harry Potter stepping off the train amid steam and owls, surrounded by kids who levitate feathers and vanish needles without a second thought. Muggle-borns like Hermione Granger arrive wide-eyed, clutching dog-eared library books on basic charms, but even they never question the spark inside them. Why? Because the wizarding world of the 1990s offers no origin story, no ancient scroll in the restricted section detailing the dawn of magic. The Daily Prophet reports on Quidditch scores and escaped prisoners. The Ministry enforces secrecy laws from 1692, but the genesis of wizardry itself? It's absent, a blank parchment where a creation myth should blaze. We hear echoes of the past, Merlin, that legendary wizard from medieval times. His name dropped like a casual spell in History of Magic class. Binns drones on about goblin rebellions and international wizarding confederations dating back centuries. Yet he skips the part where humans first tapped into this power. No cave paintings of Stone Age shamans summoning rain, no Roman scrolls crediting gods with the gift of transfiguration. The books nod to ancient magic, like the runes on Dumbledore's office door or the primal force behind the Department of Mysteries, but they treat these as footnotes to the plot, not the bedrock of existence. This leads us straight into investigating the lack of a creation myth or biological explanation for wizardry in the 1990s setting. Squibs like Argus Filch slink through the castle, bitter proof that magic skips families sometimes. Yet no healer at St. Mungo's dissects the why. Is it in the blood, a dominant gene bubbling up in pure bloodlines like the Malfoys, only to fizzle in their muggle-born rivals? Rowling gives us no potions or spells to test it, no research wing pondering Mendelian inheritance crossed with Wandlore. Pure bloods sneer at muggle-borns as mudbloods, implying dilution of some magical essence. But even they can't trace it back further than dusty family trees starting in the Middle Ages. The wizarding world hums along on inherited assumption, spells flying as naturally as breathing, with zero curiosity about the biology beneath. And then there's the throbbing heart of it all, the mystery of the first wizard. Was magic discovered, like fire struck from flint in a forgotten cave, a muggle stumbling upon a ley line, or cosmic rift that unlocked the unseen? Or did it evolve, a gradual mutation in early humans, perhaps in isolated tribes, where shamans first felt the pull of an inner force, passing it down until it split the world into magical haves and have-nots? The books hint at beasts and beings predating humans, giants, merpeople, house elves with their own subservient magic. But for wizards, it's silent. Or was it bestowed by an ancient force, some eldritch entity or forgotten deity, draping power over select souls? Like the Deathly Hallows legend, whispers of the three brothers and their gifts from death itself. Voldemort chases immortality through Horcruxes. Dumbledore ponders the wand's allegiance, but neither glances back to that primordial moment when the first wand rose, trembling with untamed energy. Feel the weight of that omission in quiet scenes. Like 11-year-old Harry staring at his letter, the first acknowledgement of his difference, yet no owl arrives with a primer on why he's chosen. Ron Weasley, raised in a burrow of red-haired witches and wizards, accepts it as birthright without a bedtime tale of origins. Even the Sorting Hat, steeped in 1,000 years of Hogwarts secrets, Yar sings of houses and traits, but never of the magic that birthed them all. The International Statute of Secrecy hides wizards from muggles, but it presupposes magic already thrived, unregulated and wild before 1707. This brings us to why the series treats the most fundamental question of its existence as an irrelevant footnote. In a world where house elves bind themselves with ancient enchantments and phoenixes rebirth from ash, the birth of human magic gets sidelined for teenage angst and dark lords. Rowling builds a soft magic system, wondrous and rule-bending, where explanations might shatter the awe. Dumbledore himself says some things are better left mysterious, yet fans hunger for more, piecing together fan theories from Pottermore scraps or Cursed Child addendums, but canon stays mute. It's the 1990s backdrop, with its Walkmans and fax machines clashing against flu powder, amplifies the oddity. Muggles chase scientific origins, from Big Bang to Darwin, while wizards shrug at their own supernatural genesis. Delve deeper, and the silence echoes through artifacts, like the veil in the Ministry, that whispering archway, veiling death's realm, ancient even by wizarding standards. Did the first wizards peer through something like it? glimpsing the source, or the resurrection stone, conjuring shades but never the living origin. The books orbit these enigmas without landing, leaving us adrift in a cosmos of spells with no Big Bang moment. As the final echoes of Voldemort's defeat fade in 1998, Harry walks away not just master of the Hallows, but heir to unanswered questions that predate his scar. That void pulls us forward, into the shadows, before the owl post arrives, the hidden struggles of those early years. Up next, Chapter 3, The Lost Years, Education Before Hogwarts. What really happened to magical children in those blank 11 years, hidden from wands and classes, accidents brewing in Muggle homes? You won't believe the dangers they faced, unspoken until now. If the very spark of magic, its genesis, its first wielder, remains a void in Rowling's world, then consider the children who inherit it without warning. These young witches and wizards emerge into a reality where power stirs long before any wand finds their hand, yet the books offer no map for those fragile opening years. Picture a toddler in a quiet English suburb, perhaps a Muggle-born girl clutching her favourite toy. One moment she's content, the next, frustration bubbles over and the room erupts in sparks of uncontrolled flame. Her parents stare in horror as the curtains singe and the family cat levitates in panic. This is accidental magic, raw and unpredictable, manifesting as early as infancy in the wizarding world. Harry Potter himself provides glimpses. At age 2, his hair regrows overnight after a trim. By 5, he makes glass vanish from a snake enclosure at the zoo, setting a boa constrictor free amid screams. Such incidents pepper his pre-Hogwarts life, but they're treated as anomalies, not the norm they must surely be for every magical child. And here's the heart of it, the glaring 11-year gap in the lives of magical children and the lack of primary schooling. Hogwarts letters arrive precisely on the 11th birthday, whisking students away to a structured world of spells and potions. But those first 11 years? A blank slate, no mention of nurseries for neonates who might summon storms with a tantrum. No kindergartens teaching basic levitation to prevent household disasters. No curriculum for channeling the innate gifts that define them. Pure-blood families like the Malfoys or Weasleys might pass down rudimentary charms over breakfast, stirring porridge with a finger perhaps, or mending a broken toy, but even that's speculation, uncharted in canon. Half-bloods straddle worlds and Muggle-borns, their bombs waiting to detonate in oblivious homes. Layer onto this the Statute of Secrecy, enacted in 1692 by the International Confederation of Wizards. Born from centuries of witch hunts, burnings, and pitchfork-wielding mobs, it demanded total concealment. No magic in sight of Muggles, on pain of expulsion, or worse from wizarding society. This ancient decree, meant to protect the magical community after near annihilation, now shackles the youngest among them. How does it complicate the daily upbringing of accidental magic toddlers? Imagine the scene. A 2-year-old boy, pure blood or not, hurls a toy in rage, and it explodes into a shower of butterflies that flutter through an open window into the neighbour's garden. The Muggle next door gapes, phone in hand, ready to call authorities. Obliviators from the ministry swoop in under cover of night, memory charms at the ready, wiping minds and planting false tales of faulty wiring or mass hysteria. But what of the child? Traumatised by shouts, confined to avoid repeats, their power stifled rather than shaped. Yerith, this isn't mere inconvenience, it's a structural risk of untrained children living in a Muggle world without a formal pre-Hogwarts system. Exposure looms at every turn, a burst of telekinesis shattering a classroom window during primary school recess, or a girl's inadvertent confundus charm sending her teacher's chalkboard into frenzy. The Ministry's accidental magic reversal squad exists for cleanup, as seen when they intervene after Harry's underage flying on a toy broom at age 3, nearly alerting the entire neighbourhood. Yet prevention? Absent. No wizarding creches hidden in diagon alley basements. No correspondence courses via OWL for fidgety 5-year-olds practicing Lumos under the covers. Half-blood Harry endures the Dursleys' cupboard under the stairs, his magic lashing out in dreams that glass the windows anew. All Muggle-borns like Hermione Granger must navigate playgrounds alone, their brilliance mistaken for freakishness until that fateful letter arrives. Delve deeper into the historical shadows. Before 1692, magical children roamed freer, apprenticed young to hedge witches or village seers, blending with folk healers until persecution peaked. Post-Statute, isolation deepened. Families improvise. The Weasleys burrow, chaotic with floating knitting needles and self-stirring pots, suggests hands-on rearing amid 7 siblings. But for loners, or those in strict Muggle homes, peril. Unchecked power risks not just detection, but psychological fracture. Children labelled delinquents, medicated, or worse, abandoned as cursed. Rowling hints at this fragility. Young Tom Riddle, at Wool's orphanage, orchestrates horrors with peers, yet his magic twisted without guidance. What becomes of the girl whose accidental apparition lands her miles from home at age 4, or the boy who turns his bully's shoes to ice in the schoolyard? The wizarding world's arrogance shines here. No ministry program for early intervention, no St. Mungo's ward for magical meltdowns. Contrast this with Muggle education scaffolds. Phonics at 4, algebra by 12. Wizards leap straight to wand law at 11, presuming instinct suffices. Yet evidence contradicts. Neville Longbottom arrives bumbling, his magic haywire, until maturity. Luna Lovegood drifts in eccentricity, her oddities unchecked. Even prodigies falter without foundations. Hermione's bookish prowess stems from Muggle discipline, not wizarding prep. This void exposes deeper fractures. Pure-blood supremacists decry Muggle influence, yet dump their heirs into the same unprepared void. The Ministry, bloated with departments for beasts and mysteries, overlooks child-rearing. International parallels? Beauxbaton and Durmstrang select at similar ages, implying a global blind spot. Fan theories whisper of underground tutors or goblin-run academies, but Rowling leaves it barren, a deliberate or overlooked chasm. These lost years ripple forward. Hogwarts' first years stumble into transfiguration, their accidental bursts now punishable infractions. Friendships form amid shared bewilderment. Rivalries ignite from suppressed resentments. Harry's defiance, forged in Dursley denial, propels him. Others might crumble unseen. Such foundational oversights lead us straight into the Ministry's most haunting enigma, where ancient secrets whisper from beyond the grave. In our next chapter, the Death Chamber. Behind the veil, we'll unravel the stone archway that claims Sirius Black, probing what lies on the other side, and why its voices still chill the soul. While the Statute of Secrecy shields those accidental bursts of magic from prying Muggle eyes during a child's earliest years, the wizarding world buries its most profound enigmas deep underground, in chambers where even the Ministry's own unspeakables tread with caution. Tucked away in the Department of Mysteries lies the Death Chamber, a circular room dominated by a weathered stone archway that stands as one of the oldest relics in all of wizarding Britain. This archway, draped in a tattered black curtain that ripples gently as if stirred by an unseen breeze, predates the Ministry itself, which was established around 1707. Its stone is blackened and chipped, carved with no visible runes or inscriptions, yet it hums with an otherworldly power that chills the air around it. No one knows who erected it or why. Perhaps it was dragged from some forgotten prehistoric circle of standing stones, infused with rituals from an era when wizards communed directly with death itself. For centuries, it has sat there, untouched, its purpose speculated upon only in hushed Ministry memos that vanish as quickly as they're written. A forensic look at the stone archway in the Department of Mysteries and its ancient origins reveals a deliberate opacity. Rowling describes it as simply there, ancient and inevitable, like a tear in the fabric of reality that the wizards dared not mend. On the 18th of June, 1996, during the brutal clash in that very chamber, Sirius Black stumbled backward through the veil, vanishing with a final, mocking laugh at Bellatrix Lestrange. Harry watched in horror as his godfather, the last tether to his parents' world, was swallowed by the fluttering curtain. No scream, no body tumbling out the other side, just silence pierced by faint whispers from beyond. Why Sirius Black's 1996 death remains the most ambiguous exit in the entire franchise stems from this void. Unlike Fred Weasley's clear explosion or Remus Lupin's battlefield fall, there's no corpse to mourn, no wand to claim. Sirius simply ceases to be, leaving Harry screaming at an empty arch, pounding the stone until his knuckles bleed. The unspeakables had warned that the veil was one way, a threshold to oblivion. Yet it beckons with voices that tug at the edges of your mind. Harry hears them first. Murmurs of lost loved ones, fragments of conversations long faded, rising like mist from a graveyard at dusk. Luna Lovegood, standing beside him amid the chaos, tilts her head and smiles faintly. She recognizes the tones, the dad's voice among them, her mother's too, the whispers beyond the curtain. Is it a portal to some limbo realm where souls linger? A sentient execution device that devours the living to feed on their echoes? Or a physical manifestation of the afterlife? Thin enough to glimpse but impossible to cross back, consider the chamber's chill, the way the veil sways without wind, stirring dust motes into lazy spirals that catch the dim torchlight. Those voices aren't random. They speak in cadences familiar to the bereaved, pulling at grief like threads from a fraying tapestry. One theory whispers of ancient Celtic barrows, where druids erected portals to the other world, binding them with blood magic predating Hogwarts by millennia. Another posits it as a Dementor forge gone wrong, an apparatus meant to strip souls for Azkaban's guardians, now rogue and hungry. Or perhaps it's the veil between life and death made manifest, echoing the Deathly Hallows quest. Not a weapon, but a door that Ignotus Peverell learned to skirt by choosing patience over conquest. Sirius's plunge amplifies the riddle because it defies every other demise in the series. No green flash of Avada Kedavra, no lingering shade like a Horcrux's fragment. Even the Resurrection Stone, conjured later in 1998 amid the Battle of Hogwarts, summons only translucent echoes of the departed. Lily, James, even Lupin. But Sirius remains absent, his image never flickering into view despite Harry's desperate pleas. Rowling could have clarified through that artifact, letting Sirius confirm oblivion or reveal a hidden realm. But she doesn't. The ambiguity lingers, fueling debates. Did he truly perish? Or does he wander a whispering void, pawing at the curtain from the other side? The archway's antiquity hints at deeper roots, possibly tied to the goblin's grudge against wizardkind, or the merpeople's submerged lore. Artifacts too perilous for even Dumbledore to dismantle. Time turners shatter nearby, brains float in tanks down the hall, yet the veil endures, watched by silent attendants in hooded robes. Its whispers grow insistent if you linger, promising reunion with the gone, but always just out of reach, the siren's call wrapped in stone. Harry's raw anguish that night, collapsing as loot peace restrains him, the prophecy orb shattering underfoot, cements the scene's haunting weight. Sirius, freed after 12 years in Azkaban, reduced to godfather for mere months, erased without trace. No funeral pyre, no grave at Godric's Hollow, just questions. If it's a portal, where does it lead? Parallel dimension, purgatory, a ministry trap for dissidents, humming with obliviation spells. Theories multiply in the shadows. Some fans argue it's the liminal space Voldemort glimpsed in his King's Cross limbo, a benchless void for the unmastered. Others see execution echoes, ghost of condemned wizards from the witch hunts, their final breaths preserved. Yet Rowling leaves it veiled, pun intended, mirroring the series' theme of death as the great unknown, untamed even by the Elder Wand. As we peel back these layers of the Death Chamber, the true horror emerges. In a world of explicable spells and beasts, this archway defies categorization, its origins lost to time, its hunger eternal. Sirius's fate hangs there still, a loose thread in the tapestry. But if the veil conceals the final journey, what about the charms that hide entire places from existence itself? Up next, the Secret Keeper's Paradox. Fidelius Mechanics unravels a betrayal mechanic that could rewrite the Order's greatest defenses. What happens when a soul holds the key to secrecy, and it snaps? Sirius Black's plunge through that whispering veil at Mortering Vale in the Department of Mysterious. Out there, bound, but even in the heart of that chaos, another layer of wizarding secrecy was at play, one that had shielded him long before that fateful night in 1996. Grimmauld Place, his family's ancient home, stood invisible to all but those who knew the Fidelius charm's deepest secret. This profoundly powerful enchantment doesn't just conceal a place. It burrows the very knowledge of its existence into a single living soul. Picture the cramped, dusty halls of number 12, Grimmauld Place, squeezed between oblivious Muggle homes on a grim London square. In the summer of 1995, as the Order of the Phoenix reclaimed it from black family curses, Albus Dumbledore cast the Fidelius charm, naming himself the Secret Keeper. From that moment, the house vanished from the magical world's map. No spell could detect it, no broomstick could stumble upon it, no flue powder address would summon you there. The location existed only as a fragment of truth locked inside Dumbledore's mind, bound to his essence in a way that defied extraction. Deconstructing the soul-binding mechanics of the Fidelius charm, used at Grimmauld Place and Godric's Hollow, reveals a magic so intimate it touches the core of what makes a wizard whole. It's not mere obfuscation like an invisibility cloak or a disillusionment charm. The secret imprints itself on the keeper's soul, becoming inseparable from their will. Only they can speak it aloud, revealing the hidden truth to others. Tell no one and the place remains a ghost in reality, but whisper it to a friend, and suddenly the bricks reassemble before their eyes. The door knocker growls to life. This soul-deep tether raises chilling questions about the nature of magic's hold on the spirit. Is it akin to a Horcrux, fragmenting the soul for permanence, or something purer, a voluntary surrender of knowledge for protection? Dumbledore held Grimmauld secret until his death, passing it seamlessly to the Order. Proof that the binding endures even beyond the grave, transferable only by the Keeper's intent. Rewind to 1981, and the same charm cloaked Godric's Hollow, where James and Lily Potter hid from Voldemort's wrath. They trusted Peter Pettigrew as their secret keeper, a decision that unravelled everything when he betrayed them. Voldemort tortured the location from Pettigrew's lips, arriving in a flash of green light. Yet here's where the Fidelius' logic frays at the edges. Why couldn't James Potter have been his own secret keeper? He was a brilliant wizard, co-creator of the Marauders Map, master of advanced transfiguration. Finding the secret to himself would have made betrayal impossible. From within, no intermediary, no weak link. The charm demands a living, soulless vessel, but nothing in the incantation precludes self-designation. Dumbledore later explained the switch from Sirius to Pettigrew as a decoy tactic, but that sidesteps the fundamental flaw. If self-keepership works, why risk it at all? Fast forward to the Shell Cottage on the Cornish coast in 1998, where Bill Weasley becomes the secret keeper for Harry, Ron, and Hermione during their Horcrux hunt. Bill lives there openly, reveals the location at will, and the Fidelius holds firm against Snatchers and Death Eaters. No catastrophe ensues. So why the internal logic failure that doomed the Potters? If Bill could safeguard his own home this way, James should have managed it effortlessly. Was it a forgotten option in the panic of war, or does the charm harbour unspoken rules? Perhaps a prohibition against the spell's caster serving as keeper, to prevent loopholes in the soul binding. Rowling leaves this paradox dangling, a crack in the Fidelius' otherwise ironclad design, forcing us to question whether the Potters' tragedy stemmed from oversight or an unstated magical prohibition. And then, There's the missing counter curse, the elephant in the warded room. Why such a powerful defensive spell has no documented way to be broken by force. No imperious curse pries it loose. No Cruciatus extracts it. Not even Voldemort's legitimacy could rip the Godric's Hollow address from Pettigrew without his willing betrayal. Dumbledore withstands torture and truth serums without spilling Grimmaild's secret. Priori Incantatem failed to reverse it during the Order's battles. This absence of a counterspell suggests the Fidelius operates on a plane beyond standard dueling magic, perhaps anchored in the Keeper's free will, unbreakable unless surrendered voluntarily. Imagine the implications for wizarding warfare. Fortresses hidden eternally, safe houses immune to siege, yet no ancient text, no Hogwarts library tome, no ministry archive details a forcible dispel. Was it designed by Merlin-era enchanters to counter exactly this vulnerability, or does its silence hint at forgotten knowledge lost to time, like the Veil's origins? The Fidelius charm's paradoxes ripple outward, challenging the wizarding world's reliance on such absolute protections. At Grimmauld Place, Creature's betrayal nearly exposed it from within, yet the charm held until the Order's vigilance. In Godric's Hollow, the Fidelius bought the Potters, mere months before Pettigrew's treachery. Bill's success underscores the arbitrariness. Why not universal self-keepership for every safe house? Without a counter-curse, it renders locations untouchable phantoms, but only as secure as the soul entrusted. Voldemort never replicated it successfully. Despite his obsession with immortality, his followers resorted to crude wards and polyjuice disguises. This mechanical enigma lingers, a testament to magic's elegant cruelty. It protects by possessing, reveals only through ruin. As we peel back these layers of secrecy, another oversight from the Marauders Map era demands our attention next. The Peter Pettigrew oversight that let a rat slip through the cracks unnoticed for years. While the Fidelius charm locks secrets deep within a soul, rendering places invisible to all but the chosen keeper, the Marauders Map flips that logic entirely. It lays bare every corner of Hogwarts, tracking every footstep and whisper in real time. Yet it harbours its own profound blind spots that no one in the castle ever questioned. Crafted in the late 1970s by four audacious Gryffindors, James Potter, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew, the map unfolds like a living parchment under the incantation. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. Ink spreads across its surface, labelling corridors, common rooms, and secret passages with pinpoint accuracy. Dot by dot, names glide through the halls. Harry Potter in the Great Hall, Draco Malfoy slinking toward the dungeons. It even taunts intruders with personalised jibes, like calling Severus Snape Snivellus through the voices of Mr. Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs. This isn't mere cartography, it's enchanted surveillance, a prankster's ultimate tool for mischief and evasion. Fred and George Weasley commandeered it sometime before Harry's first year, using it to dodge Filch and perfect their pranks across those early school terms. They pored over it nightly in the Gryffindor Tower, watching prefect patrols, rival Slytherins, and their own siblings' comings and goings. Picture them huddled by the dormitory window, parchment spread wide under wandlight, chuckling as dots converged in forbidden spots. Yet through the 1991 to 1993 timeline, Harry's first 3 years at Hogwarts, something impossible slipped right past them. Peter Pettigrew, alive and animagus, transformed as Ron Weasley's rat scabbers, slept curled in Ron's bed every single night. The map should have betrayed him plainly. A labelled dot named Peter Pettigrew, nestled amid the Gryffindor boys' dormitory, inches from where Fred and George themselves bunked. Why the oversight? The twins were obsessive map users, cross-referencing it against their own escapades. Ron's bed wasn't some obscure nook. It sat in the heart of their shared tower, footsteps from their own. Pettigrew wasn't motionless either. He scampered after Ron to classes, meals, even Hagrid's hut, always under Scabbers' alias in the book's telling. But the map reveals true identities, not disguises. It outs Remus Lupin as a werewolf by placing Remus Lupin prowling the grounds on full moon nights, even before anyone knew his secret. It flags Animagi too. Snape spots 4 suspiciously accurate nicknames in 1993. So where was Wormtail's Dot, betraying the rat's human name night after night? This plunges us into the map's eerie sentience, a layer of magic that feels almost judgmental, like a loyal guard dog choosing what to bark at. The parchment doesn't just observe, it interacts. It shuts down for unauthorized users, hissing mischief managed only on command. It mocks with personalized insults, suggesting embedded personalities from its creators. Mooney's wit, Padfoot's bark, Prong's bravado, Wormtail's squeak. Could it intentionally hide certain truths from its users? Imagine the map, infused with the Marauders' bonds, recognizing one of its own makers in rat form. Peter had betrayed James and Lily by 1981, becoming secret keeper and dooming them. But the map dates to their school days, pre-traitor. Does its magic preserve that era's loyalty, shielding Wormtail out of some programmed brotherhood? Or does it deem Pettigrew survival irrelevant, a footnote not worth surfacing amid student chaos? The evidence mounts when we consider its selective silences elsewhere. During the 1992 Chamber of Secrets crisis, Ginny Weasley, possessed by Tom Riddle's diary, slipped nightly to Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, the hidden entrance to Salazar Slytherin's chamber. Her dot should have blinked repeatedly on the map. Ginny Weasley, lingering by the girls' lavatory, vanishing into plumbing, no passage charted. Fred and George, still map custodians that year, watched for dangers amid petrifications. Colin Creevey, Justin Finch Fletchley, even Hermione frozen mid-scream. They tracked suspects like Draco, Justin, even Harry under suspicion. Yet Ginny's haunted pilgrimages went unnoticed. No alert blaring her proximity to the basilisk's lair. Myrtle herself wails about the attacks, her bathroom a crime scene. But the map stays mute on the Weasley girls' ghostly routine. Layer this with Pettigrew's dormancy. 2 years of a traitor marauder under their noses unlabelled. The map could have saved lives. Expose Peter, derail Sirius's framing, flag Ginny, halt Riddle's resurrection. Instead, silence. Its sentience whispers of intent, perhaps programmed to ignore its creator's ilk or deem rats beneath notice. Rowling leaves this void stark. No explanation in interviews, no Pottermore footnote. Fan theories swirl. Animagus forms evade labelling unless revealed, or the map blanks on non-students. But canon crumbles that Lupin's werewolf jaunts show fully, and Hagrid's dot moves pre-expulsion knowledge. Delve deeper into the parchment's pulse. Activated, it hums with castle life. Professors pacing offices, ghosts gliding, house elves darting cellars. Yet blanks persist. The room of requirement never appears, morphing beyond mapping. The Whomping Willow's knot goes unnoted until the Marauders will it. Sentience implies choice, filtering threats, prioritizing pranks. For Pettigrew, maybe betrayal severed his link. The map loyal to James's memory erases the rat, or it's protective, hiding allies in peril. Ginny's case stings sharper. A first year under its watch, diary-bound steps from doom. Did familial ties blind it to Weasleys, or does it shun possession's subtlety? By 1993, when Fred and George gift it to Harry just before Sirius's escape, the map's oversights compound the tragedy. Harry uses it to tail Lupin, spot Crouch Jr., but Pettigrew's dot only emerges post-reveal in the Shrieking Shack. Too late for innocence, too late for warnings. This sentient parchment, born of boyish genius, guards secrets as fiercely as it exposes them, choosing truths like a conspirator in the walls. These map enigmas echo through Hogwarts' shadowed corners, priming us for even stranger sights. Up next, through the silver lens, Dumbledore's X-ray vision reveals how the headmaster pierced invisibility itself, spotting Harry under his cloak when no spell should allow it. Just as the Marauders Map concealed Peter Pettigrew from Fred and George's eyes for years, hiding him right there in Ron's bed during those tense nights of 1992 and 93. Another legendary artifact promised perfect invisibility, yet crumbled under the right kind of scrutiny. the deathly hallow invisibility cloak, woven from threads no spell could unravel, the one that shielded its wearer from death itself, according to the ancient tale of the three brothers. Ignotus Peverell draped it over his shoulders and vanished into the night, evading the Grim Reaper's bony grasp, passing it down through generations until it draped young Harry Potter in the shadows of Hogwarts. Picture Harry at Christmas of 1991, slipping through the castle's echoing corridors under its silvery folds, the cloak flawless, never fading like lesser invisibility enchantments that fray after hours or days. No shimmer betrayed him, no footprint in the snow, no whisper of fabric against stone. He reached the forbidden room on the 3rd floor, the mirror of Erised gleaming in the dust-moted dark. There he stood, gazing at the family he'd lost, his parents' faces smiling back from the glass. And then, a soft creak of the door. Albus Dumbledore entered, his half-moon spectacles catching the mirror's glow, his long silver beard swaying gently. Harry froze, heart pounding, certain he was unseen. But Dumbledore turned, his blue eyes twinkling straight at the empty air where Harry huddled. How Albus Dumbledore was able to see Harry under an infallible deathly hallow in 1991 remains one of the series' deepest enigmas, a glimpse through the veil of Magick's most sacred lore. Dumbledore didn't flinch or cast a spell aloud. No hominum revelio burst from his wand that night. No incantation shattered the cloak's perfection. He simply knew Harry was there, spoke to him as if the fabric held no power at all. Was it the headmaster's unparalleled occlumency, peering into thoughts before they formed, or something in his phoenix-sharp intuition, honed by centuries of wizardry? The books offer no answer, leaving us to wonder the what-ifs. Harry's cloak, confirmed later as the true hallow by the tale's own legend and Dumbledore's own words in 1997, should have rendered him as invisible as a ghost's sigh. Yet Dumbledore pierced it effortlessly. Twice in fact, his gaze cutting through like winter sunlight on frost. Fast forward to the Triwizard Tournament, 1994, and the mystery sharpens into silver. Harry, desperate to eavesdrop on the imposter professor, throws the cloak over himself in the staff room. Chairs scrape, voices murmur about the tasks ahead, and then a low growl from the corner. Alastor Moody, or so they thought, swivels his head, that eerie blue magical eye whirring like a living thing. It spun in its socket, zoomed impossibly, and locked onto Harry through the cloak's weave. The eye that could see through walls, through solid objects, through invisibility spells of the ordinary sort. But this was no ordinary cloak. This was the deathly hallow, the one death could not touch. Moody's eye, crafted by unknown hands, embedded in the scarred socket of the real Auror after some dark duel, saw Harry plain as day, barking him out into the open. The mystery of Alastor Moody's magical eye and its ability to pierce the true invisibility cloak gnaws at the edges of canon like a persistent itch. We know the eye's powers from descriptions. It rotated 360 degrees, pierced solid doors during the hunt for Death Eaters, even glimpsed the invisible horses pulling the Hogwarts carriages. But its maker, unknown, its limits, unstated. Rowling let it hover unexplained, a human invention that outstrips a god-forged relic. And herein lies the contradiction of a hallow that is supposed to hide one from death, but fails against a human-made artifact. The Elder Wand bends to no spell, the Resurrection Stone summons shades from beyond, yet the cloak, the ultimate concealer, bows to a prosthetic orb no larger than a galleon. Consider the law's weight. The deathly Hallow's tale, whispered in Godric's hollow pubs for centuries, paints the cloak as peerless. Unlike James Potter's borrowed one, which tore and flickered, Harry's never failed until those piercing gazes. Death sought the brothers, but the cloak laughed it off, letting Ignotus live to old age. So why do mortal eyes, Dumbledore's organic blues and Moody's enchanted swirl, rend its veil? Was Dumbledore's sight augmented by some forgotten charm, perhaps tied to his phoenix familiar, whose gaze sees through illusions? Fawkes perched nearby in the mirror room, after all his song echoing faintly. Or did the headmaster wield a silent detection spell, one so advanced it whispered no words? Moody's eye demands even darker speculation, forged in the fires of Auror ingenuity. Maybe during the First War against Voldemort in the 1970s, when Mad Eye lost his own in battle, goblins, dark artificers. The books hint at its ministry confiscation, post-imposter reveal in 1995, stored away like a forbidden relic, yet it saw through the cloak, where spells like disillusionment or even polyjuice faltered. Imagine the eye's inner workings, a swirl of enchanted glass, pulsing with Revelio essence, calibrated to human heat, magical auras, the subtle warp of light around concealed forms. But against the Hallow, it should have failed, as all mortal magic does against divine legend. Instead, it triumphed, yanking Harry into the light like a fish on a line. This clash exposes the Hallow's fragility, or perhaps their myth's exaggeration. The tale claims concealment from death. But what of living wizards with eyes like telescopes into the soul? Harry's own encounters pile the questions. The cloak hides him from Filch, from Snape, from dragons in the tournament maze. Yet Dumbledore spots him at Erised, Moody in the staff room, even briefly from Thestral seers who glimpse the unseen. No counter-explanation emerges in the 7 books. No footnote from Rowling on Pottermore clarifying the override. Fans whisper of true sight charms, ancient Peverell bloodline counters, or the cloak's limits against legilimency masters. But canon stays silent, the silver lens unbroken. Dumbledore's final gift of the cloak, to Harry in 1997, underscores the irony. Use it well, he writes, knowing its flaws intimately. Harry masters the Hallows by 1998, becoming the vain master of death. Yet that mastery never mends the cloak's blind spots. Voldemort, with his serpentine senses, never detects it directly, but human ingenuity does. The contradiction lingers, a relic to cheat death, undone by eyes that mimic its gaze. As we pull back from these shimmering threads, the trail leads deeper into the ministry's shadowed halls, where artifacts like Moody's eye might find their origins amid even stranger secrets. Up next, Chapter 8, the Department of Mysteries, Bureaucracy of the Unknown, where locked doors guard enigmas that make the Hallows seem simple by comparison. That magical eye of Alastor Moody's, peering through the flawless weave of a deathly Hallow, hints at the kind of forbidden knowledge tucked away in the Ministry of Magic's deepest shadows. The Department of Mysteries isn't just a wing of the building. It's a labyrinth where the unspeakable is shelved alongside the unimaginable, guarded by unspeakables who swear oaths of silence thicker than any Fidelius charm. Black doors swing open to a circular room lined with identical handles, each leading to wonders that defy explanation. Step through one, and you're in a chamber humming with the low thrum of time itself. Shelves groaning under hourglasses that twist sand into loops, bending minutes into Mobius strips. Further in, a vast hall echoes with the drip of water from a fountain that spills clear liquid promising death or eternity. Take a sip, and prophecies might flood your veins. But the real pulse of dread beats in the places no visitor dares linger. This is an audit of the Ministry's most dangerous wing, from the brain tank to the locked room of love. Picture a dimly lit tank, larger than a Quidditch hoop, filled with swirling, silvery mist, where brains float like jellyfish in an ethereal sea. These aren't preserved specimens. They writhe, tentacles of thought lashing out to wrap around intruders, dragging them into visions of madness. In 1995, during the chaos of the Order's infiltration, Harry Potter himself got snared by one, his mind yanked through a whirlwind of memories that weren't his own. Surfacing gasping, forever marked by whispers that no legilimens could fully unravel. Why do these brains defy containment? Are they fragments of seers gone wrong? Or experiments in extracting pure thought from the living? The unspeakables prod them with silver probes, charting neural storms that could rewrite sanity, yet no records leak out, not even to the Minister for Magic. One brain nearly drowned a dozen wizards in 1996, flooding the hall with a psychic tide that left survivors babbling prophecies in reverse. And still, the ministry leaves them bubbling, unsecured, as if tempting fate with every bubble that rises. Wander deeper, past vaults humming with amphorae of swirling smoke, prophecies etched in glass orbs, each labelled with names like Harry Potter and the Dark Lord, waiting to shatter under the right touch. Shatter one wrongly, and the future spills like ink, staining the air with inevitability. Then comes the room that chills even the boldest. A door marked with runes that pulse like a heartbeat, sealed behind locks that reform if picked. Inside, the air thickens with an emotion weaponized. Love bottled and locked away because its raw force could topple empires. The locked room of love holds no vials or flasks, just an oppressive haze that seeps under the door, making hearts ache with unrequited longing. Touch the handle without clearance, and you're lost in a fog of devotion, so fierce it binds souls tighter than any imperious curse. What experiments brew there? Potions to amplify maternal protection, like Lily Potter's sacrifice in 1981, or darker brews to forge unbreakable loyalties for the Auror ranks. No one knows, because the door never opens for audits, and the unspeakables guard it fiercer than the vaults of Gringotts. Propel through archways of ever-shifting black tiles, and you reach the heart of peril. Vaults crammed with world-enders. A single prophecy orb could ignite wars. A rogue brain might enslave minds across Britain, yet security, laughably porous. No goblin-forged wards, just confundus corridors that baffle muggles but fold like parchment for any wizard with a pointy hat and a grudge. Elevators deposit visitors mere steps from apocalypse, with house elves popping in for tea service amid the time-turners. Why the wizarding government stores world-ending artifacts in a facility with such porous security beggars belief. Arrogance, perhaps, or a deliberate test for the next dark wizard bold enough to raid it. The fatal flaw exposed itself in 1996 during the savage clash that tore the department apart. Death Eaters, led by Lucius Malfoy, stormed in under Umbridge's nose, hunting the prophecy linking Harry to Voldemort. The Order of the Phoenix countered, Sirius Black charging ahead, Lupin barking orders, Tonks and Shacklebolt weaving spells through the gloom. Spells ricocheted off prophecy shelves, orbs exploding in cascades of foresight that drove fighters mad mid-duel. Brains lashed from their tank, ensnaring Kingsley in a mental vice, while the love room's haze leaked out, turning curses to desperate pleas. Chaos peaked in the time chamber. Time turners, those delicate golden hourglasses permitting loops of hours, smuggled to Hermione Granger for third-year classes, littered the floor like forgotten jewellery. A stray hex from the melee ignited them all. Flames licked the chains, sand fusing in reverse avalanches, and in a cataclysm of temporal fury, the entire stock detonated. No survivors witnessed the full unravelling, did timelines fracture and reform. Echoes of alternate battles flickered in the smoke, wizards glimpsed twice in the haze. When the dust settled, every last time-turner was slag, their magic snuffed forever. Rowling never clarifies the how or why of that annihilation. Was it mere accident, or a safeguard woven into the devices themselves, programmed to self-destruct under assault? Post-battle, the Ministry hushed it up, claiming sabotage, but no replacements surfaced. Not for Hermione's timetable juggling, nor Azkaban breakouts, nor any crisis since. Time magic, once a bureaucratic toy allowing students to double up on divination and ancient runes, vanished without trace, leaving the wizarding world stuck in linear drudgery. Even the veil, that whispering archway we probed earlier, stood sentinel through the fray, unmoved as Sirius tumbled through its flutter. Post-battle reports, leaked fragments from St. Mungo's, hint at anomalies. Wizards swearing they fought the same duel twice. Clocks in the atrium running backward for an hour. The unspeakables sealed the wing tighter than ever, but cracks remain. A junior clerk vanished in 2002, pulled into a brain tendril during inventory. Another glimpsed the love room ajar, emerging lovesick for a house elf. This bureaucracy of the unknown thrives on half-truths, hoarding perils that could unmake reality while Aurors patrol Diagon Alley for petty hexes. What other vaults lurk unlabeled? Cages for captured dementors, mirrors reflecting unlived lives. The Ministry's gamble assumes no insider betrayal, no polyjuiced infiltrator slipping past the mesmerized sentries. Yet history whispers otherwise. From Grindelwald's whispers to Voldemort's inner circle. As we seal this audit of enigmas begging for light, the trail of venomous contradictions leads straight to Chapter 9, the Basilisk Paradox, Venom versus Horcrux. How did a fang that shreds souls spare the boy who hosted one, only to strike true years later? While the Department of Mysteries juggles time-turners and brain tanks with laughably lax security, the wizarding world's true killers often hide in plain sight, coiled within the castle's own stone walls. Take the Chamber of Secrets, that submerged tomb buried 500 feet beneath the girls' bathroom on the second floor. In 1993, during Harry Potter's second year, a 500-year-old monster emerged from its depths, its fangs dripping venom, potent enough to dissolve metal and shred souls. You remember the scene. Harry, soaked and cornered in the flooding chamber, locks eyes with Tom Riddle's shimmering shade. The basilisk lunges, its scales scraping the slick pillars like thunder. Harry dodges, grabs hold of its thrashing tail, and in the chaos, a curved fang, as long as his forearm snaps free and plunges straight into his right arm, just above the elbow. The pain hits like liquid fire, venom surging through his veins, blackening the skin, turning his blood to acid. He staggers, vision blurring, as the serpent's massive coils whip toward him for the kill. But here's the paradox that keeps fans up at night, or perhaps lulls you into deeper thought right now. That same basilisk venom would later prove to be one of the few substances capable of obliterating a Horcrux, permanently unraveling the dark magic that anchors a fragment of soul to an object. Rowling herself confirmed it in interviews and Pottermore writings. Horcruxes demand damage beyond magical repair. Basilisk venom fits perfectly, as does Fiendfire or the Killing Curse redirected. Stab the diary Horcrux with that fang moments later, and it shrieks, ink hemorrhaging like blood, pages curling to ash before Harry's eyes. Instant annihilation. Ron Weasley does the same to Slytherin's locket in 1998. Deep in the Cave of Treasures, fang through the locket's face, a hiss of destruction, and Voldemort's soul shard evaporates in seconds, leaving only a smoking husk. Clean, irreversible, no revival possible. Yet Harry, he's carrying an accidental Horcrux inside him, a splinter of Voldemort's soul lodged there since that Halloween night in 1981, when the Killing Curse rebounded, confirmed by the Dark Lord himself in the limbo of King's Cross. So why doesn't the fang's venom rip through him the same way? Why does Harry live to pull that fang out and jam it into the diary, all while his own body fights off poison? The venom races through his system fast. Dumbledore later explains it to the hospitalized boy, noting how it spread perilously close to his heart before intervention. Harry's arm swells grotesquely, necrosis setting in, the basilisk's curse amplifying the agony. Without help, he'd have been dead in minutes, just like the venom's victims in the corridor attacks that year. Mrs. Norris petrified, Colin Creevy's camera melted, Justin Finch Fletchley, and nearly headless Nick hovering as ghosts. But Harry endures long enough to triumph. The question gnaws. If the Horcrux demanded total ruin, shouldn't that soul piece have fled, or frayed the instant the fang pierced his flesh? Enter the healing factor debate. The crux of this basilisk paradox. Fawkes the Phoenix swoops in at the 11th hour, his scarlet wings ablaze against the chamber's gloom. Those tears, pearlescent drops falling onto the wound, carry legendary curative power. Rowling draws from medieval lore. Phoenix tears counter basilisk venom specifically, a poetic counterpoint in nature's design. They knit flesh, purge toxins, restore what venom devors. Harry feels the searing halt, the blackness receding as if time rewinds on his arm. By morning in the hospital wing, Madame Pomfrey marvels at the near-perfect recovery, only a faint scar lingering. So does Fawkes' Phoenix fire, those tears born of rebirth, negate the beyond repair threshold for Horcrux destruction? Proponents argue yes. The venom never gets a chance to fully dismantle the soul anchor. It's like dousing a fire just as the house beams crack but before collapse. The diary and locket sit inert, lifeless vessels. Venom hits isolated Magick unchecked. Harry's body, though, pulses with life. His own soul, blood and magic intertwined with Voldemort's fragment. Perhaps the venom targets the Horcrux shell first. But Fawkes interrupts before it breaches the core. Or maybe Phoenix magic, tied to Dumbledore's ancient Phoenix bond, interferes with dark rituals, purifying rather than permitting total obliteration. Skeptics counter that this strains logic. The venom acts molecularly swift, dissolving the diary's enchanted ink in heartbeats. No healing delay. Harry's fang wound festers visibly. Venom confirmed to reach systemic levels. Yet the Horcrux endures unscathed until Voldemort's intentional sacrifice in 1998. Compare the timelines. Diary destroyed mid-stab, locket in a flash underwater. Harry's survival feels inconsistent, a plot convenience shielding the hero. Why no partial damage, no weakening of the soul link that might explain his later visions or protections? Rowling never clarifies if living Horcruxes demand different rules. Perhaps the soul clings tighter to a breathing host, venom diluted by vitality. Delve deeper into the chamber's damp echo, the water lapping at Harry's knees as he weakens. The basilisk's yellow eyes fix on him through the sword's reflection, petrifying the direct gaze but sparing full death. Fang embeds, venom blooms, yet Fawkes' arrival isn't coincidence. Dumbledore's Phoenix, loyal beyond reason, times his intervention flawlessly. Is it foresight, or does Phoenix Song detect Horcrux resonance? Fawkes swallows the sorting hat whole earlier, regurgitates Gryffindor's sword laced with basilisk residue. Venom transferred perfectly for the diary kill, then tears for Harry. Orchestrated salvation, but at what cost to lore consistency? Fans dissect this endlessly. Maybe Harry's mother's sacrificial love shield, still active from 1981, repels the venom's soul-shredding edge, or the blood wards at Privet Drive bolster him subconsciously. But neither explains the diary's instant demise inches away. Rowling's post-series notes touch Phoenix properties. Tears heal the unhealable, skirt Horcrux specifics. The paradox persists. Venom as Horcrux killer demands finality, yet Harry's case bends the rule without breakage. A living body as imperfect vessel. Phoenix intervention too precise, or simply the author prioritizing heroism over airtight magic. As you settle deeper into this unraveling thread, notice how Harry's brush with the basilisk doesn't just test Venom's limits. It toys with thresholds of death itself. He stares into those lethal eyes, indirectly, survives the Fang's kiss, emerges scarred but whole. But true brushes with mortality linger in subtler ways, shaping what you can and cannot see in the wizarding shadows. Up next, Chapter 10. Thestrals and the Sight of Death. A riddle tied to Harry's own delayed revelations that will leave you questioning every carriage ride at Hogwarts. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is you, sweet dreams. While the basilisk's fang pierced Harry's arm in 1993, leave that Horcrux fragment intact thanks to Fawkes' healing tears. Another creature from the chamber's nightmare lingers in the shadows of Hogwarts lore, pulling us deeper into the wizarding world's veiled truths. Those skeletal horses, the Thestrals, with their bat-like wings and leathery hides stretched over bones like ancient parchment, have haunted fans since their first shadowy appearance. Invisible to most, they pull the school's carriages in silent, eerie grace, seen only by those who have witnessed death firsthand. Harry Potter first encountered them at the start of his 5th year, in 1995, stepping out onto the Hogwarts grounds under a sky heavy with summer rain. The carriages waited, pulled by what looked like nothing at all to Ron and the others. But to Harry, there they were, 4 emaciated beasts with eyes like glowing coals, stamping their hooves into the damp earth. Hermione explained it plainly. Only people who have seen death can perceive them. Yet this revelation cracks open one of the most poignant inconsistencies in the series, a mystery Rowling left dangling like a loose thread in the fabric of her magical rules. Consider the 1981 discrepancy. Why couldn't Harry see the Thestrals for 13 long years, despite witnessing his mother's murder as a 1-year-old infant? That Halloween night in Godric's Hollow, the green flash of Avada Kedavra lit the nursery walls. Lily Potter's body crumpled lifeless before her son's crib. Voldemort's high, cold laughter echoing as the curse rebounded. Harry survived, marked by the lightning scar, carrying fragmented memories of that horror, flashes of green light, his mother's screams, the cloaked figure towering over him. He was there, eyes wide open, absorbing the finality of death in its rawest form. By all logic, those Thestrals should have shimmered into view the moment he returned to Hogwarts. In 1991, their bony forms waiting patiently by the carriages each September. But they didn't. For 4 full years, Harry boarded empty carriages, oblivious to the spectral steeds labouring invisibly beside him. Luna Lovegood saw them, of course, her wide, protuberant eyes fixed on the invisible pullers since her mother's death years prior. Neville glimpsed them too, after the horror of his parents' torture. Though he never spoke of it much, Harry's blindness persisted, a ghostly absence amid the living world, until that fateful June night in 1995 at the Little Hangleton graveyard. The Triwizard Tournament's third task had twisted into catastrophe. Cedric Diggory, strong and fair, reached the Triwizard Cup first alongside Harry, only for it to whisk them straight into Voldemort's trap. The killing curse struck swift and merciless, Cedric's body collapsing lifeless onto the cold gravestones, his grey eyes staring blankly at the stars. Harry watched it happen, felt the air thicken with loss, touched that still warm corpse as he gripped the portkey home. Weeks later, back at Hogwarts, the Thestrals materialised before him, their presence no longer veiled. This 1995 shift carried crushing emotional weight. Cedric wasn't just any death. He was Harry's peer, a fellow champion, cut down in the bloom of youth during what should have been a moment of shared triumph. No parental shield or infant haze distanced this blow. It landed square in Harry's grieving heart, forcing him to process mortality in a way his baby memories never could. Fans have pored over this for years, splitting into camps with rival theories. The visual trigger camp argues it's about seeing the aftermath, the corpse itself, the tangible proof of life's end. Harry's toddler vision might have caught the curse's light show and Lily's fall, but perhaps not the body sprawled limp, details blurred by smoke, chaos, and his mother's protective arms shielding him even in death. Cedric's murder played out in stark clarity, body prone, blood pooling perhaps, the Dark Lord's glee unfiltered. Only then did the veil lift. Opposing it stands the comprehension theory, positing that true sight demands understanding death's finality, not just witnessing the act. Baby's mind, they say, couldn't grasp permanence amid the terror, flashes of green and screams registering as nightmare fuel, but not the soul-deep realization that someone is gone forever. Cedric's death shattered that barrier. At 15, Harry comprehended loss acutely, his grief raw and adult. He mourned, raged, connected the dots to his own past in ways his infant self never could. Then came Rowling's own word, years after Order of the Phoenix hit shelves in 2003. In interviews and Pottermore posts, she leaned toward comprehension. You need to grasp that death means gone, no return. It fits Luna's gentle otherworldliness, her early acceptance of her mother's accidental passing. But here's where it stings like a poorly aimed stinging hex. It feels unmistakably like a retcon. The books frame Thestrals as tied to seeing death. Hermione's words precise and literal. No qualifiers about mental maturity. Harry's suppressed memories surface vividly in later books. The flash of green, Lily's eyes wide in death, suggesting he did comprehend on some primal level. Rowling's clarification arrived post-publication, smoothing a wrinkle that wasn't there in the original weave. leaving us to wonder if the rule evolved to fit the plot's needs. Delve deeper into the Thestrals' essence, and the mystery thickens. Native to haunted moors and battlefields, they eat raw meat, their touch gentle despite the grim aura. Hagrid described them in 1995 as beautiful. In it, misunderstood by the fearful, loyal to those who see them true. Harry rode one later that summer, fleeing the Ministry with the Thestrals' powerful wings carrying him through starry skies. A bond forged in shared sorrow. Yet why this selective sight? Is it a curse of empathy, Thestrals drawn to broken souls like moths to flame, or a gift reminding wizards of mortality's edge in a world of immortality, cheats like Horcruxes and Phoenix rebirths? The apparition of those winged shadows marked Harry's descent into war's brutal reality. Thestrals becoming symbols of his isolation, visible only to him and the scarred few amid oblivious classmates. Ron joked about empty carriages, blind to the labouring death horses, underscoring how loss carves invisible divides. Cedric's role as catalyst lingers heaviest. His death wasn't abstract violence but personal betrayal, the tournament's innocence shattered, propelling Harry toward prophecy and pain. Without that precise emotional rupture, would the Thestrals have stayed hidden forever? Rowling never circled back to refine this in the Canon 7, or even her expansions, letting the discrepancy fuel endless debates. Did Harry's youth blunt the visual trigger, or did comprehension dawn only with teenage anguish? The retcon whiff persists, a patch on lore that bends under scrutiny. As we leave the Thestrals' haunting gaze behind, their bony silhouettes fading into Hogwarts mist, prepare yourself for Chapter 11. Fawkes the Phoenix, an eternal enigma. What unbreakable loyalty bound Dumbledore's fiery companion through trials of venom and rebirth? And why did it choose that precise moment to intervene? Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious. Where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. While Thestrals pull us into the cold grip of mortality, forcing us to confront death before we can truly see them, there's one being in Hogwarts who laughs in the face of endings altogether. Fawkes the Phoenix bursts onto the scene in the Chamber of Secrets, a blaze of scarlet and gold feathers, his cry shattering the basilisk's deadly stare and saving Harry's life in an instant. Those tears that heal every wound, even the basilisk venom coursing through veins that should have meant doom. But who was this magnificent creature before that desperate moment? And how did he come to perch so loyally on Albus Dumbledore's shoulder? Phoenix lore in the wizarding world is as sparse as it is shrouded in wonder. These birds live for centuries, bursting into flame upon death, only to rise newborn from the ashes, their lifespans defying the very clock that ticks for wizards and witches alike. They're drawn to the pure of heart, or so the old tales whisper, choosing a companion not out of servitude, but a profound, unspoken allegiance. Fawkes chose Dumbledore, that much we know, arriving at Hogwarts sometime before Harry's first year, though the books offer no whisper of when or why. Was it in Dumbledore's youth, amid the ashes of his own losses like Ariana's tragic death in 1922, or later, during the Grindelwald Wars of the 1940s, when hope burned brightest against the darkest shadows? Rowling leaves that origin utterly unexplained, a void that hangs over every flash of Fawkes' fiery rebirth. What pulls you deeper into the enigma is the unique bond between this phoenix and the headmaster, a connection that feels almost telepathic. Fawkes doesn't just obey commands, he anticipates them, materializing in Dumbledore's office with a trill that calms the stormiest tempers, or vanishing into flame to transport Harry and the headmaster from peril in the Ministry. Remember the Order of the Phoenix battle, when that sorrowful song echoes through the halls, bolstering the defenders while piercing Death Eater hearts with despair. It's as if Fawkes channels Dumbledore's very will, his loyalty woven into the fabric of their shared existence. Dumbledore speaks of phoenixes as independent, proud beings, who aid those they deem worthy. Yet Fawkes never strays far, his presence a constant ember in the chill of Hogwarts' ancient stones. How does such a bond form? Through magic's ancient rites we never learn, or something far more personal, forged in trials the books only hint at. Fan theories swirl around this, like smoke from Fawkes' tail, suggesting he's no mere familiar, but something profoundly more. Phoenix animagi haunt the edges of speculation, wizards who could transfigure into these immortal flames. Could Dumbledore himself be one? Fawkes merely an extension of his soul, a living Horcrux of light to counter Voldemort's darkness, or reverse it. Fawkes as the true master with Dumbledore his human guise, reborn cycle after cycle to guide the wizarding world. The clues tease us. Phoenix's tears heal what magic cannot, mirroring Dumbledore's unparalleled wisdom. Their song lifts the pure-hearted, much like his speeches rally the lost. In the Department of Mysteries, Fawkes swoops to blind Death Eaters, his loyalty unflinching, almost human in its fervour. These ideas gain traction when you consider how rarely phoenixes appear in lore. No other wizard boasts one so publicly, fueling debates that Fawkes embodies Dumbledore's immortality, a riddle wrapped in rebirth. That bond fractures irrevocably on the Astronomy Tower in 1997. The night Severus Snape's wand ends Dumbledore's life in a green flash under the stars. Fawkes is there, perched silently as the headmaster falls, his song rising not in fury, but a haunting lament that echoes through the castle, a dirge for the only master he's ever known. Then, without fanfare, he circles once, flames licking the air, and departs Hogwarts forever, never to return even after Voldemort's defeat. Why abandon the school he defended so fiercely? The books don't say, but the implications chill you. Was the bond severed by Dumbledore's death? Phoenixes unable to endure without their chosen wizard? Or did Fawkes sense the schools fall into darkness under Snape's regime? His departure a final act of judgment? Witnesses like Harry recall the emptiness left behind. No more trills in the headmaster's office, no healing tears for the battle-weary. In the epilogue 17 years later, Fawkes is gone, a ghost in the castle's rafters, his enigma complete. This eternal flame flickers out on so many questions, leaving us to wonder if phoenixes hold secrets to conquering death itself. Secrets Dumbledore took to his grave. And speaking of things that endure inexplicably through curse and claw alike, up next in Chapter 12, the vision correction flaw. Magic versus optometry. We'll unravel why Harry's glasses survive every peril unscathed, yet no simple spell ever fixes his sight. Harry Potter's round glasses perch on his nose from the very first page of Philosopher's Stone, cracked and taped from his decade in the Muggle world. Yet they endure every peril that follows. A killing curse at age 1 leaves him scarred, but his vision unchanged. The basilisk's petrifying gaze in the Chamber of Secrets glances off them without a shatter. Dragonfire, Dementor chills, even the Triwizard Tournament's chaos. They hold fast, framing those green eyes that mirror his mother's. But through 7 years at Hogwarts, no spell ever straightens his sight. Consider the potions shelf in the hospital wing. Skelly grow bubbles there, a thick, acrid draught that rebuilds shattered bones from the inside out. Remember when Harry breaks his arm, playing Quidditch in Chamber of Secrets? Lockhart's botched spell vanishes the bone entirely, leaving him with a floppy, useless limb. Madame Pomfrey administers Skelligro, and over the night, calcium knits back, muscle reattaches, skin stretches taut over fresh marrow. It's agonizing, yes. Harry writhes through hours of itch and growth, but it works. Full regeneration. Bones regrow as good as new, stronger even, in a world where magic defies biology. So why? That same hospital wing stocked with miracle brews. Does no one brew a vision grow for Harry's nearsightedness? Wizards vanish limbs with vanishing charms, regrow them with potions, transfigure humans into animals and back. Yet myopia, a simple refractive error in the cornea or lens, goes untouched. Harry's eyes blur the blackboard in potions class, force him to squint at snitch trails during matches. He crashes into trees on his firebolt. because the Whomping Willow's branches swim into focus too late, and no one, not Pomfrey with her endless vials, not Dumbledore peering over half-moons, not even Snape with his disdain for weakness, offers a fix. Transfiguration screams for an answer here. McGonagall turns desks into pigs, students into teacups mid-lesson. The discipline reshapes matter at its core. Hydrogen bonds realign, cells multiply or divide on command. Eyes are just tissue, crystalline lens, retina, optic nerve. A skilled animagus like McGonagall could alter a rabbit's form entirely. Why not curve Harry's cornea permanently, or refine the aqueous humour to sharpen light rays? We've seen temporary glamours alter appearances flawlessly, holding for hours or days. Imagine a 7th year NEWT project, Oculus Reformo, bending the eye's architecture without a twitch. But in 7 books, not once does a professor suggest it. Not for Harry's glasses, nor for the countless squinting students implied in the Great Hall. Charms offer another path, subtler and safer. Permanent sticking charms bind objects forever. Why not a perma-clarity charm on the eyes? A Fidelius hides entire houses in souls. Engorgement swells noses to balloons. We have spells for perfect recall, for levitating feathers, or conjuring Patronuses from joy. A charm to recalibrate rods and cones in the retina. Wizards charm broomsticks to hover, trunks to hold worlds, yet biological defects like nearsightedness, colourblindness, even scars from curses persist untreated. Hermione pores over spellbooks for months on end, but never cracks a vision tome. Ron jokes about Harry's specs, never questions their permanence. This isn't oversight, it's a foundational crack in wizarding medicine. Skelly Grow proves they grasp cellular regrowth. Phoenix tears dissolve venom and knit basilisk wounds shut. Fawkes' healing, as we explored last time, mends gashes that should scar forever, pulling Harry from death's edge in the chamber. Yet optometry lags in the Dark Ages. Wizards visit Oculus in Diagon Alley for frames, not fixes. Round wire rims enchanted against fog perhaps, but no cure. The Ministry regulates flu powder, but ignores this gap. Hogwarts curriculum skips ocular magic entirely. Why? Part of it whispers symbolism. The glasses as Harry's anchor to his muggle roots. They mark him as the boy who lived, vulnerable amid invincibility. Scar on forehead, specs on nose, echoes of James Potter's Quidditch gear. Rowling crafts him as everyman hero. Perfect vision would strip that humility, make him too wizardly, too seamless. The lenses fog in rain-swept chases, crack under bludgers, humanise him when spells fail. Without them, Harry's just another wand-wielding prodigy. They symbolised the wizarding world's blind spots too. Arrogance toward muggle science, disdain for simple ailments. Logically though, it crumbles. Magic heals dragon pox, counters wolfsbane side effects, reverses petrification with mandrake restorative draught. Biological defects should bow to it. Transfiguration texts detail molecular shifts. Why exempt eyes? Charms professors weave illusions indistinguishable from reality. Permanent ones could mimic 20/20 vision eternally. Yet Harry graduates still peering through glass, training auras with the same squint. Post-war Ginny, a harpy, never nags for a fix. It's as if wizard kind accepts imperfection, where muggles innovate lasers and contacts. Fan theories fill the void. Some posit a curse on Potter eyes. Lily's genes, twisted by the killing curse, resisting change. Others blame blood purity taboos. Myopia's a squib marker wizards fear curing. But canon offers nothing. No Pottermore note, no interview quip. Rowling leaves it dangling. A quiet absurdity amid spectacle. This flaw ripples outward. If eyes evade magic, what else? Deafness in the burrow's din. Arthritis in Hagrid's knuckles. Wizards age gracefully but hobble on canes. Flaur's grandmother Vila smooth, yet Dumbledore's tanned blackens untreatably. Medical magic excels at trauma, Skelligro, Phoenix tears, but falters on congenital quirks. It's optometry versus omnipotence, and optometry wins by default. As we peel back these layers, the wizarding world's casual hypocrisies mount. Take love potions, simmering legal in Hogwarts storerooms, twisting free will into infatuation without a whisper of regulation. How does a society peddle mind control disguised as romance, fueling family feuds and near tragedies? Up next, love potions, the legalized mind control that's a tangle even Dumbledore might dodge. If magic in the wizarding world can regrow shattered bones overnight with a simple vial of Skele grow, yet leaves Harry Potter squinting through cracked glasses for 7 years, what does that say about the spells they choose not to cast? It points to a deeper inconsistency, one that runs like a vein of fool's gold through their society. Certain enchantments are embraced, even celebrated, while others are condemned as unforgivable. Take love potions, for instance. These brews don't mend the body. They shatter the mind, compelling unbreakable obsession under the guise of romance. And they're not hidden in some shadowy apothecary. They're hawked right there on the shelves of Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, in garish packaging with winking labels and candy-sweet promises. Picture the shop in Diagon Alley, post the Battle of Hogwarts, buzzing with the chaotic energy Fred and George Weasley perfected. Amid the decoy detonators and Peruvian instant darkness powder, you'll find rows of heart-shaped vials glowing with amortentia, the most potent love potion known to wizardkind. Its mother-of-pearl sheen shimmers under the shop lights, releasing spiraling tendrils of steam that carry scents tailored to each sniffer's deep desire. Freshly mown grass for one, treacle tart for another, perhaps the woody tang of a broomstick handle. Fred would grin as he rang up a customer, George slipping in a quip about dosage. Just a sip in pumpkin juice, and you've got a devotee for up to 24 hours, maybe longer if you're clever. It's all legal, stocked openly for anyone with a few galleons and a crush. No hushed whispers, no back alley deals, just bright signage proclaiming guaranteed giddiness. The horrifying ethics of amortentia being sold openly at Weasley's Wheezes hit like a bludger to the gut. This isn't harmless fun. It's legalized mind control, peddling the erosion of free will as a prank product. The Ministry of Magic, that same bureaucracy which bans Polyjuice Potion without a license and deems the Imperious Curse unforgivable for puppeteering the unwilling, draws a baffling line here. Love potions are classified as restricted substances, sure, age 18 and up, with warnings about side effects like drooling fixation and poor personal hygiene, but they're not outright illegal. The justification, they're temporary, they claim, unlike the Cruciatus Curse's endless agony or the Killing Curse's finality. Regulated sales keep them from black market abuse, and healers can brew antidotes if things go awry. But peel back that parchment-thin excuse, and you see the rot. Consent vanishes the moment the potion touches the lips. The victim doesn't choose. Their thoughts twist into a singular, slavish devotion, echoing the Imperious Curse's thrall, yet escaping Azkaban, because it's wrapped in hearts and flowers. How the Ministry justifies the legality of a substance that removes consent and free will boils down to cultural blind spots. Wizards view love as a force to be conjured, not earned. Potions are shortcuts to the heart, no different from a cheering charm at a dull wedding. Yet imagine dosing your enemy with amortentia, you'd cry foul. The double stand thrives because it's aimed at romance, that squishy grey area where autonomy blurs. This tolerance traces back centuries, but no story exposes its darkness like the tragic backstory of Merope Gaunt. Born into squalor in the shadow of Little Hangleton, around 1897, Merope was the last of the Gaunt line, pure-blood descendants of Slytherin, reduced to scavenging for scraps in a hovel that reeked of mould and madness. Her father, Marvolo, a ranting supremacist, and brother Morfin, a violent brute, treated her as little more than a house elf. Magic came to her weakly, beaten down by abuse, but she clung to one forbidden talent, brewing love potions. Desperate for escape, she set her sights on Tom Riddle Sr., the handsome muggle from the grand estate up the hill. With a steady drip of potion in his drinks, she ensnared him completely. He abandoned his life, married her, and whisked her to London. Blinded by enchanted adoration that mimicked love's warmth but hollowed the soul. For months it held. Merope bore a son, Tom Marvolo Riddle, future Lord Voldemort, on December 31st, 1945. But as her pregnancy waned, so did her nerve. She stopped dosing the potion, perhaps hoping real affection had bloomed. It hadn't. Riddle fled the moment clarity returned, leaving her destitute in a Muggle orphanage. Merope died within hours of birthing her child, whispering his name to the caretakers, as if it could summon the love she'd never truly known. The dark implications of magical attraction unravel here, like a frayed wand core. Was Voldemort's hatred for Muggles born not just from his heritage, but from witnessing or sensing his mother's potion-fueled sham? Love potions don't create love. They forge obsession, a counterfeit that poisons generations. Merope's tale warns of the peril. What starts as a desperate bid for connection ends in abandonment, orphans, and a dark lord scarred by simulated desire. Hogwarts itself normalizes this nightmare. Romilda Vane spiked chocolate cauldrons with Amortentia, aimed at Harry in 1996, giggling as if it were a schoolgirl crush rather than assault. Bill Weasley's ex-fiancée, a ministry desk clerk, was dosed by a bleating old goat, likely a disguised wizard, leading to a messy breakup that Fleur wrestled from the family. Even Slughorn keeps recipes handy, praising Amortentia's complexity in potions class. No outrage, no reforms. The wizarding world shrugs, as if free will is a luxury for the unenchanted, yet cracks show in the law. Dumbledore hints at the horror in his King's Cross vision with Voldemort, dissecting love's true power as sacrificial, willful. The antithesis of potions. Rowling leaves it unexplained, this ethical chasm, letting fans debate if it's oversight or intentional satire on wizarding hypocrisy. That hypocrisy sharpens when you consider spells that track the forbidden word itself, bending magic to eavesdrop on whispers across Britain. Up next in Chapter 14, the taboo curse, tracking the untrackable, how a single utterance became a death sentence in the shadows of war, and why its mechanics still defy every rule we know. While the wizarding world turned a blind eye to potions that hijacked the human heart, another curse lurked in the shadows of 1998. One that turned a simple word into a death sentence. Saying Voldemort's name didn't just break a long-standing taboo. It summoned snatchers straight to your door. Picture the trio huddled in a grim cottage on the coast, the air thick with salt and desperation, their breaths shallow as they debated the Dark Lord's return. Hermione Granger pieced it together first. Her voice an urgent whisper amid the creaking floorboards. The taboo curse, she revealed, had been laid upon Voldemort's name itself, transforming every utterance into a beacon. In 1998, as the Second Wizarding War raged, the spell worked relentlessly. Whenever anyone spoke Voldemort, not you now who, not he not be named, but the true name, the curse pierced the veil of silence, alerting Death Eaters and their enforcers to the precise location of the speaker. No Flu network exploit, no owl interception, no eavesdropping charm could match its precision. It bypassed all known protective enchantments, slipping past Fidelius charms like Grimmauld Place, ignoring disillusionment spells that bent light around the caster, and even evading the most sophisticated anti-apparition wards. How? Because it didn't target the body or the space. It latched onto the sound of the name, a phonetic trigger woven into the fabric of magic itself, raw and unblockable, as if the air itself betrayed you the moment those syllables escaped your lips. This was no ordinary hex. Rowling leaves the incantation unspoken, the caster unnamed, likely Voldemort himself, or one of his inner circle like Dolohov or Rowell. But its mechanics were brutally efficient. The curse manifested as an invisible web across Britain, humming with dark energy, attuned solely to that forbidden pronunciation. Protective bubbles like the one shielding Shell Cottage flickered uselessly against it. Muffliato might muffle voices to human ears, but the taboo drilled deeper into the ether of magic, even in the heart of London, amid Muggle crowds where wizards once hid freely. A single slip in a crowded pub or whispered conversation pinpointed you faster than a portkey. The trio learned this the hard way After Ron's frustrated outburst in the early months of their hunt, their safe house shattered by masked figures apparating in with curses flying. From that moment, they adopted the euphemisms everyone else used, but the curse's genius lay in forcing conformity. Speak his name and you were hunted. Yet for all its power in the war's final throes, Voldemort never deployed this name taboo. During the First Wizarding War, from 1970 to 1981, when the Order of the Phoenix stood defiant, why hold back such a weapon? Imagine the possibilities. Dumbledore whispering strategies in the Hog's Head, Sirius barking orders from Grimmauld Place, Lily Potter murmuring fears over tea in Godric's Hollow, all exposed in an instant. The Order's meetings, their safe houses, even casual pub talk among Aurors would have crumbled under relentless raids. Pettigrew's betrayal might have been unnecessary. A single Voldemort from James during a planning session could have summoned Death Eaters to the Potter's door months earlier. Voldemort crushed villages like Hangleton, tortured muggles in his father's shadow, but he never turned language into his spy. Perhaps pride stayed his hand. He demanded fear through his title, Ye Who Must Not Be Named, and a taboo enforcing that might have felt like admitting weakness. Or maybe the spell's invention came late, born from desperation as his immortality frayed after Godric's Hollow. The books hint at no precedent. It feels custom crafted for 1998, when paranoia gripped his ranks and every whisper mattered. But the taboo wasn't flawless. Its technical limitations reveal a cunning design, distinguishing sharply between the speaker and the location to avoid false alarms. It didn't mark the ground where words were spoken. Instead, it homed in on the intent and identity of the utterer, filtering out ambient noise or muggle chatter. A wireless radio blaring news of the Dark Lord's rise, ignored. A child mangling the name in fright, brushed aside. Only a wizard or witch, knowingly voicing Voldemort with magical awareness, triggered the ping, a subtle soul-deep resonance that broadcasted coordinates to Snatcher's enchanted detectors, perhaps mirrored devices attuned to the curse's pulse. This prevented chaos in crowded Diagon Alley or during Ministry broadcasts, where the name might echo innocently, yet it doomed the isolated, the defiant, like grizzled auras in hiding or Order remnants plotting in basements, who let the true name slip from habit or rage. The trio tested its edges, whispering intents warded by every charm in Hermione's arsenal, only to realise no imperturbable charm silenced the curse's ear. It was location agnostic, speaker specific, a hunter that pursued the voice across county lines. In those final months, as Britain darkened under curfews and wanted posters, the taboo reshaped resistance. Broadcasts from Potterwatch, crackling through modified radios, danced around the name with codes and nicknames, but every close call underscored its ruthlessness. Xenophilius Lovegood's folly at his cliffside home proved it. One bold utterance to impress Harry, and fiendfire rained from the skies. The curse didn't just track, it terrorized, amplifying the fear it fed upon. And that fear ties directly into the legend of mastering death itself, which we'll unravel in Chapter 15, The Master of Death. Legend versus reality. Did Harry truly conquer mortality, or was it all a clever illusion? Voldemort's taboo curse in 1998 turned every utterance of his name into a beacon for his hunters, a desperate grasp at control in a war slipping from his fingers. Yet in that same shadowed summer, as the Death Eaters scoured the land, Harry quietly claimed mastery over something far older and more elusive: the three Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, the Invisibility Cloak. Legends whispered through centuries, finding the fate of the Peverell brothers themselves. Trace the bloodline back to those medieval wizards, the Peverells, whose story unfolds in the tale of the three brothers, etched into that tattered children's book Harry clutched in the dim tent. Antioch, the eldest, brash and unyielding, demanded the wand that conquers death, the Elder Wand unbeatable in duel. Cadmus, brooding and vengeful, sought the stone to summon the departed, pulling his lost love from the veil. only to drive her mad with half-life. Ignotus, wisest of all, took the cloak that shields forever from death's gaze, slipping away into obscurity. Their symbols carved into that ancient gravestone in Godric's Hollow, unearthed by Hermione's wandlight amid the snow-silent graves. But was Harry their true heir? The Potters descended directly from Ignotus. That much the Goblin records at Gringotts, confirmed in 1999, when the lineage surfaced like a long-buried rune. Harry's cloak, flawless and eternal, passed down through generations, never fraying like lesser invisibility weaves. Yet the brothers' tale blurs into myth. Did they craft the Hallows through dark ritual, or stumble upon death's own gifts in a river-crossing gamble? The wizarding world dismissed it as fable, until Xenophilius Lovegood unfurled the symbol in his cluttered attic, the triangle enclosing circle and line, marking Harry as its bearer. Here's the heart of the enigma. What does Master of Death truly mean? A literal crown, granting dominion over mortality itself. Fans pore over the text, arguing for superhuman gifts, immortality, necromancy, shadows bending to command. Imagine Antioch wielding the wand to fell armies, Cadmus cheating the grave, Ignotus evading forever. United, the set should eclipse any spellbook's promise. Yet Rowling leaves it hauntingly ambiguous, a philosophical veil. Perhaps mastery lies not in conquest, but acceptance, facing death without flinching as Ignotus did, cloak drawn tight as he awaited his hour. Harry's journey echoes this, marked by the killing curse as a babe, staring down basilisks and infirmary, always one step from the end. The title whispers through Dumbledore's portrait, through the stone's visions in the Forbidden Forest, but delivers no throne, no scepter. Is it metaphor, a badge for those who greet death as equal, or a cruel jest from the grave? Fast forward to May 2nd, 1998, the Battle of Hogwarts raging through crumbling halls and starry skies. Harry unites the Hallows at last. The cloak, his since privet drive in 1991, warm against his skin through every flight. The stone hidden in the golden snitch clicked into his palm amid the acacias, summoning ghosts of Sirius Lupin, his parents. Ethereal counsel, not flesh. The wand rested indirectly. Draco Malfoy disarmed Dumbledore atop the Astronomy Tower in 1997. Then Harry disarmed Draco in Malfoy Manor months later. Allegiance shifted like a wand's core, flowing to the boy who needed it least. He repairs his own fractured holly wand with a whispered reparo, the Elder Wand's supremacy humming unused. Voldemort falls in the Great Hall, the rebounding curse shattering his remnant soul. Harry stands amid the rubble, Hallows in grasp, the wizarding world kneeling, but no surge of power courses through him. No basilisk-proof skin, no legions of shades, no cloak rendering him untouchable even to legitimacy. Why? Dumbledore's words in the stone's vision cut deep. The Hallows seduce the power-hungry, promising what they cannot give. True mastery evades the grasp. It's in relinquishing the chase. Harry gains nothing tangible, because the legend was never about artifacts crowning a god king. It's a mirror to the soul, reflecting one's dread of the end. Voldemort chased them blindly, splintering himself across Horcruxes. Harry, unknowingly Peveril Scion, wields them humbly then lets go. Consider the Elder Wand's end, snapped in two over Harry's knee in the headmaster's office, splinters, tossed into the Forbidden Forest's underbrush. The resurrection stone slipped from his fingers into the same tangled roots, vanishing like a sigh. Why discard history's greatest power? The wand had felled too many. Gellert Grindelwald, Albus Dumbledore, untold duelists in its bloody wake. Its allure poisoned every master, birthing cycles of theft and murder. Harry saw it clear. Allegiance could pass again, tempting Draco's heirs or some dark ambition. The stone tormented more than it healed. Ghosts, pale parodies of life, driving Cadmus to suicide. Keeping it invited grief's endless loop. Only the cloak remained, practical heirloom, untainted shield for family picnics and quiet nights. In rejecting the Hallows throne, Harry embodied Ignotus's wisdom. Death's master not by force, but by walking beside it unafraid. This philosophical pivot lingers like mist over the Great Lake, challenging every fan theory of latent godhood. The Peveril's legacy endures not in vaults or relics, but in Harry's choice to break the myth's chain. Yet even as he steps into peacetime, another veil parts in his mind's eye, drawing us toward the King's Cross limbo. The mutilated infant, that grotesque limbo vision where Voldemort's shattered soul confronts its final form. Harry's encounter with death, in that vast, gleaming King's Cross station, didn't grant him mastery over it through the Hallows, but it thrust him into one of the series' most haunting visions, a limbo, where the boundaries of soul and existence blur beyond recognition. There, on May 2nd, 1998, moments after Voldemort's final killing curse struck him down in the Great Hall of Hogwarts, Harry found himself suspended in a place that felt both achingly familiar and impossibly otherworldly. A pristine railway platform bathed in soft, diffused light, with clean stone floors stretching endlessly, and benches waiting empty under vaulted arches that whispered of forgotten journeys. Dumbledore appeared before him, serene as ever, his long fingers steepled, explaining choices Harry could make: to board a train and move on, or to return to the battle raging above. But your eyes, like Harry's, would inevitably drift to the shadowed corner beneath one of those benches, where something wretched stirred, a tiny, mutilated form, blind and mewling, its limbs stunted and raw, like a newborn ravaged by some unspeakable curse. This wasn't just any apparition. It was the remnants of Voldemort's soul, the fractured sliver that had latched onto Harry as an infant in 1981, now reduced to this pathetic, howling infant body, crawling feebly in the dirt. Rowling paints this baby body with deliberate revulsion, small enough to fit in a man's palm, its skin mottled and burned, eyes milky voids that see nothing, cries piercing the station's hush like shards of broken glass. Harry recoils, understanding dawns. This is the Horcrux unintended, the piece Voldemort never planned, blasted from his body when his curse rebounded off baby Harry's forehead lightning scar. Dumbledore confirms it gently, calling it a maimed and diminished thing, blind and howling, for some reason it could never name or comprehend. Yet Rowling leaves the deciphering to us. Why this form? A stunted echo of the child Voldemort once was. Tom Riddle before the diaries and murders twisted him, or a symbol of his soul's infancy. Forever trapped in vulnerability, because it murdered so many times over, splitting itself until only wreckage remained. That image lingers, because it defies easy answers, forcing you to stare into the abyss of what magic does to a soul pushed beyond repair. Voldemort had poured himself into objects and beings 7 times, chasing immortality. But this final fragment, homeless after the diadem's destruction in the Room of Requirement and Nagini's death by Neville's blade, clings to Harry even in death's threshold. It's the last gasp of a dark lord who viewed love as weakness, now embodying utter helplessness. Fans pore over every word of that Chapter 35 scene in Deathly Hallows, debating if the infant's cries echo the orphans of Wool's orphanage, or the victims whose deaths fueled his Horcruxes. Rowling herself, in interviews, likened it to a miscarried child or aborted fetus, a deliberate gut punch to Voldemort's eugenic obsessions, his pure blood supremacy crumbling into this deformed parody of life. But the station itself, those pearly white tiles, the distant rumble of non-existent trains, the profound sense of peace laced with sorrow. Was this limbo a physical dimension woven into the fabric of magic, a way station for souls like the Veil in the Ministry's death chamber, or merely a psychological construct born from Harry's own mind? Dumbledore speaks of it as a place between life and what lies beyond. Headmasterly robes pristine, offering lemon drops from a pocket that defies the realm's logic. Harry feels no pain from his wounds, no urgency from the war above. Time dilates, conversations unfold with dreamlike clarity. If physical, it mirrors ancient wizarding afterlives hinted at in the Tale of the Three Brothers, a limbo where elder wand masters like Dumbledore await unfinished business, perhaps tied to the Resurrection Stone's echoes or the King's Cross name, evoking Muggle normalcy amid magical death. Yet the psychological angle grips tighter. Harry's haven, shaped by his childhood train rides to Hogwarts, his losses piling like luggage on the platform. Why King's Cross specifically? A nod to platform 9 3/4, his gateway to belonging, now repurposed as Death's portal. Dumbledore admits he chose his form to comfort Harry, suggesting the mind crafts the space. No other character glimpses this limbo. Sirius tumbles through the veil unheard, yet Harry converses freely. Is it Harry's love-forged soul, protected by Lily's sacrifice, projecting this sanctuary while Voldemort's fragment writhes below? The books never clarify, leaving you to wonder if every near-death brushes the same realm, or if it's bespoke, a mental crucible where choices solidify. This ambiguity peaks in the unresolved fate of that mutilated soul piece. What becomes of it after Harry rejects the train and returns to life? He watches as the infant vanishes with a rictus of pain when he wills it gone, spirited away by an unseen force Dumbledore neither names nor explains. Does it dissolve into nothingness, its magic spent? Or does it hurtle to some hellish void for irredeemable souls, beyond Phoenix rebirth or Sorting Hat mercy? Voldemort's other Horcruxes shatter spectacularly. In Fiendfire, lock it in a cave's depths. But this one, intimate and parasitic, fades without spectacle. Rowling dodges post-canon. No Pottermore notes on soul disposal. No epilogue glimpse of Harry's scar pain-free save implication. The Dark Lord's essence, so meticulously guarded, ends not in glory but obscurity. A final unforgivable loose end that taunts every reread. You can almost hear those cries echoing still. A reminder that even in victory, the wizarding world harbours shadows magic can't illuminate. And as we leave this eerie station behind, the trail of unanswered questions leads straight to the vaults beneath Gringotts Bank in Chapter 17. Gringotts and the goblin economy, where fortunes hide deeper secrets than any Horcrux ever dared. As Harry's mind grappled with that grotesque infant form, lurking in the shadows of King's Cross, the real world of 1998 churned with its own upheavals, none more audacious than the trio's infiltration of Gringotts Bank itself. Picture the scene from that fateful day. Harry Potter, disguised as Dragon Tamer Travers, Ron Weasley as Goblin Bogrod, and Hermione Granger as Bellatrix Lestrange, tumbling through the labyrinthine tunnels on a runaway minecart, pursued by furious security spells and a horde of screeching goblins. They breached the high-security vaults, shattered the protections on the Lestrange family trove, and escaped atop a blind dragon, cup Horcrux in hand. But what lingers in the aftermath is not just the heist's thrill, it's the fragility it exposed in the wizarding world's entire financial backbone. Gringotts stands as this towering enigma, a gleaming white edifice on Diagon Alley, carved from marble so pristine it hurts the eyes under midday sun, guarded by goblins whose sharp features and glittering eyes betray centuries of simmering resentment. Founded in the late 1700s, it serves as the sole repository for wizarding wealth. The currency it hoards remains bafflingly primitive. Galleons of 24-karat gold, sickles of silver, nuts of bronze. These coins clink in your pockets, their values fixed at 17 sickles to a galleon, 29 nuts to a sickle, a system as rigid as goblin-forged steel. No paper notes flutter from enchanted presses, no checks drawn on enchanted quills, no ledgers tracking interest or investments. Wizards simply amass piles of glittering gold in vaulted caverns deep underground, accessed via rickety carts that plummet through crystal-lit chasms, past infernal forges and echoing drips of subterranean water. Here's the unforgivable mystery of wizarding currency and the lack of a complex financial system beyond gold piles. In a society wielding spells to summon objects from thin air or multiply food with a wave, why no alchemy to inflate supplies endlessly, no charms for secure digital ledgers, no goblin-managed stocks or bonds to grow fortunes? Hagrid withdraws a fistful from Harry's vault in 1991 without a whisper of loans, overdrafts, or economic forecasts. Hoarding, as if the Middle Ages never ended, delve deeper into those vaults, and the questions multiply like the thief's downfall waterfall that strips away disguises. The Potter family vault, number 687, yawns open to reveal mounds of gold that could drown a man. Coins spilling like a frozen cascade, enough to fund a lifetime of luxury without a single day's work. Yet when the goblin Griffook appraises it in 1998, he mutters about life savings, his voice laced with envy and scorn, prompting the query that haunts every reread. Where did the Potter family wealth actually originate? James Potter, we know, tinkered with pranks and flew broomsticks for the Chudley Cannon scout team, but no canon hints at patents sold or family businesses run. Lily Evans came from a Muggle dentistry household, her parents scraping by with drills and fillings, hardly a vein of galleons. Inherited from Fleamont Potter, James's father, whose hair growth potion made the family rich. Rowling drops that crumb in Pottermore notes, but the books offer nothing substantial. No ledgers tracing back through generations, no goblin contracts detailing investments in potion empires or Quidditch leagues. Was it wartime spoils, ancient Peverell gold tying into Harry's Hallow lineage, or simply narrative convenience to let our hero shop without a job? The vault's untouched state since October 1981 suggests perpetual stasis, immune to taxes, inflation or goblin fees. Another thread unravelling the illusion of a functioning economy. Goblins themselves embody this tension, sharp-nailed clerks hunched over towering scrolls in Gringotts' vast atrium, their forges below churning out swords and artifacts with metallurgic precision unmatched by wands. They control the bank, but chafe under wizarding bans on wand use, fueling rebellions throughout history. Like the uprisings of the 18th century that nearly toppled ministries, wizards deposit gold, but goblins lend it sparingly, often at usurious rates to pure-blood elites, breeding a shadow economy of favours and forgeries. No central wizarding bank rivals it. The ministry handles no fiscal policy, no galleon standard pegged to dragon scales or phoenix feathers. Muggle money exchanges hands awkwardly at leaky cauldron rates. But how do wizards fund global trade? Azoas from Peru, fire whiskey from Scotland, without shipping crates of clinking coins across borders. The simplicity borders on farce, a gold standard fantasy persisting through 2 wizarding wars, untouched by spells that could revolutionize it all. Then came the 1998 break-in, a seismic fracture in this brittle edifice. The trio's ploy exploited stolen identities and imperused goblins, but the fallout rippled outward like a vault explosion. Griffook promised the sword of Godric Gryffindor as payment, betrayed them mid-heist, alerting guards and unleashing the dragon. Word spread through goblin clans like fiendfire. Wizards had violated sacred oaths, desecrated vaults with multiplication enchantments that spawned decoys, evading the ancient Gemino curse that duplicates intruders into porcelain shards. Trust shattered overnight. Goblins, long simmering, aligned with Voldemort's regime, their president Bogrod coerced into compliance before the heist's chaos claimed him. Post-breach, they sealed vaults tighter than ever, demanding wand registries and reparations, while whispers of withheld withdrawal starved ministry coffers during the Battle of Hogwarts. How the 1998 break-in affected goblin-wizard relations and the stability of the economy now stares us in the face. Alliances frayed to the breaking point, with goblins withholding loans to rebuild war-torn Diagon Alley, inflating black market rates skyward and sparking riots in goblin warrens beneath London. The post-war wizarding world teetered on recession, galleon values plummeting amid hoarding, no bailout from a non-existent central reserve. Rowling leaves us pondering if Gringotts ever recovered, or if those gold piles dwindled under goblin reprisals, exposing an economy as volatile as a poorly brewed polyjuice. This goblin grudge simmers across centuries, hinting at deeper fractures in wizarding secrecy itself. Up next in Chapter 18, the Statute of Secrecy. A failing policy will uncover how that 1792 decree, meant to shield magic from muggles, crumbled under its own weight. Leaks, exposures, and outright failures that make you question if secrecy ever truly held, while the goblins cling to their ancient vaults and simmering resentments after that chaotic break-in in 1998. The wizarding world guards a far more precarious treasure. Its secrecy from the non-magical masses, that veil of isolation, formalised in the Statute of Secrecy back in 1692, has held for over 3 centuries, but in an era of smartphones and satellites, it's starting to fray at the edges. Picture the chaos that led to it. Muggle persecutions raged across Europe, witch hunts, burnings, trials fueled by fear and superstition. Wizards, powerful yet outnumbered, gathered in secret at the inn that would become the Leaky Cauldron. There, under flickering candlelight and the weight of survival, the International Confederation of Wizards signed the decree. No more overt displays of magic in front of muggles. No more flying broomsticks over villages or dueling in broad daylight. From that moment, the wizarding community withdrew, building invisible walls around Diagon Alley, Hogsmeade, and every hidden hamlet worldwide. But enforcing that statute meant inventing a whole shadow bureaucracy, the Ministry of Magic's Accidental Magic Reversal Squad. Those tireless obliviators swoop in whenever a child's accidental spell shatters a window or a rogue bludger veers off a Quidditch pitch into Muggle airspace. They've been at it since the decree's ink dried, wiping memories with a flick of the wand and a murmured "Obliviate." In the books, it in action. Young wizards like Harry causing havoc before Hogwarts, or the aftermath of the Quidditch World Cup in 1994, where riots exposed hundreds of muggles to spells and portkeys. Obliviators worked through the night, altering recollections on a massive scale. Yet here's the 1692 decree's true logistical nightmare. Hiding a global population in the age of technology, wizards number in the thousands across Britain alone. Millions worldwide if you tally every wand-waving family from Tokyo to Timbuktu. Pre-internet, it was feasible. Cows levitating in Dorset could be chalked up to mass hysteria. But today, a viral video of a phoenix rebirth or a house elf apparating into a subway goes global in seconds. Drones scan the skies where brooms once soared freely. Facial recognition software flags oddly ageless faces at airports. The ministry scrambles with muggle-worthy excuses committees, fabricating gas leaks for dragon sightings or attributing troll attacks to escaped circus animals. How long before a satellite glimpses Hogwarts' unplottable grounds, or an algorithm detects the unnatural absence of electricity in wizarding homes? Even more baffling is why the wizarding world refuses to modernize, despite the obvious risks of exposure. They shun muggle innovations like telephones, too traceable, or the internet, dismissed as a muggle folly by Minister Fudge. Why not adapt? Wizards could embed anti-detection charms in global networks, or use enchanted proxies to monitor threats preemptively. Instead, they cling to owls for mail, flu powder for calls, and quills for records, as if parchment walls them off from progress. Rowling hints at prideful isolationism. Pure-blood supremacists view muggles as inferior, unworthy of integration. The ministry, bloated and bureaucratic, fears upheaval. Imagine the panic if wizards had to explain polyjuice or patronuses to a world armed with nukes. Yet exposure looms inevitable. During Voldemort's reign, Death Eaters barely concealed their terror. One stray Cruciatus in public, and satellites would have lit up. This stubborn stasis amplifies the Obliviator problem. The ethical cost of maintaining a secret through mass memory alteration. Every Obliviate erases not just a sighting, but personal experiences. A farmer's awe at a shooting star that was really a Thestral. A child's wonder at fireworks that were dragon sparks. We're talking thousands of interventions yearly, scaling to millions globally. Long-term effects, phantom memories, psychological scars dismissed as delusions. In the books, Hermione frets over it during the World Cup cleanup, but the ministry presses on, treating minds like faulty appliances. Is consent irrelevant when secrecy demands it? Wizards justify it as protection for both sides, but at what human toll? Altering free will on this scale Rivals love potions in moral bankruptcy. Yet no one's questioning the squad's unchecked power. Fan theories swirl around near breaches. The 1994 Cup riots, where hundreds saw magic, or Dementors swarming Little Winging in 1996, glimpsed by Muggle neighbours. Rowling never details the fallout. Did Obliviators hit every household on Privet Drive? Post-war, with Voldemort's open terror, the Statute cracked wide. Muggles learned fragments via the Daily Prophet's emergency broadcasts. Kingsley Shacklebolt's ministry hinted at reforms, but canon leaves it hanging. Exposure feels not if but when. Perhaps a global wizarding stock market crash from Gringotts woes tips the first domino. As these cracks widen, whispers emerge of older forces at play, powers predating the Statute by millennia. That brings us to Chapter 19, Ancient Magic, the Power of Sacrifice, where we unravel rituals so profound they might rewrite the rules of secrecy itself. What if true concealment demands blood, not just memory wipes, while the Statute of Secrecy locked wizards away from prying Muggle eyes, starting in 1692, shielding their world from telephones and televisions? It couldn't hide the deepest secrets of magic itself. Powers that whispered through the ages long before any decree was signed. Powers like the ancient magic that surged to life on that fateful night in Godric's Hollow. 1981, when Lily Potter stood between Lord Voldemort and her infant son. You can almost feel the chill of that October evening, the wind rattling the cottage windows as green light flashed through the nursery. Voldemort's killing curse struck her down, but in her dying breath, something unbreakable ignited. Harry survived, marked only by a lightning scar because her sacrifice invoked an old magic Dumbledore himself described as profoundly mysterious. Yet here's the unforgivable gap. Why has no one in the wizarding world ever studied it formally? No textbooks at Hogwarts detail its origins. No ministry department dissects its principles. Even the Department of Mysteries, with its locked doors and whispering brains, seems to overlook this force that repelled the Dark Lord. Dumbledore hints at it in the Goblet of Fire, telling Harry that his mother's love created a protection Voldemort couldn't touch. But what exactly is this old magic? It's not a spell from any wand core or incantation passed down through Gryffindor's lineage. It's primal, tied to the very essence of sacrifice, echoing legends of ancient witches and wizards who bargained their lives for others, though none left records we can trace. Imagine the frustration for scholars like Bathilda Bagshot. Her history of magic volume spans centuries, yet they skipped this entirely, treating it as folklore rather than fact. Was it deemed too unpredictable, too tied to emotion rather than intellect? Or did the International Confederation of Wizards suppress it, fearing a power that bypassed their regulated charms and hexes? During the First Wizarding War alone, thousands perished defending their families, parents shielding children from Death Eaters, spouses taking curses meant for their partners. Muggles died for loved ones too, caught in the crossfire of raids on hidden homes. Yet none triggered this same ancient shield. Why did Lily Potter's act alone rebound the killing curse, destroying Voldemort's body and leaving Harry as the boy who lived? It wasn't just love. Countless hearts burned with that in those dark years. Dumbledore speculates it was her willing sacrifice. No bargains, no pleas for mercy, just pure, defiant choice. Voldemort gave her the chance to step aside, as he later recounted in his twisted ravings, and she refused. That refusal unlocked something unique, a mother's blood-forged ward rooted in intent so absolute it altered reality itself. Other sacrifices lacked that voluntary purity. Many fought back with spells or fled, diluting the magic's potency. Lily stood still, offering her life freely, channeling an archaic power perhaps drawn from Celtic druidic rites or pre-Roman enchantments, whispers of which linger in the tales of Merlin's era. Rowling leaves us pondering. Was it her Muggle-born status, untainted by pure-blood dogma, that amplified it, or the prophecy's shadow, marking Harry as the chosen one, intertwining fate with her final moments? No answers come, only the scar as eternal proof. This protection didn't fade with her death. It lived on in Harry's veins. A blood ward Voldemort could never fully pierce. Dumbledore explains it meticulously to Harry in the Order of the Phoenix. Lily's sacrifice infused her son with an enduring shield, fueled by her very blood. As long as Harry could call home, the place where his mother's blood dwelt, Voldemort couldn't harm him fully. That's why the Dursleys' house on Privet Drive became his fortress. Petunia, Lily's sister, carried the same bloodline, however estranged. The mechanics unfold like a delicate enchantment. By placing Harry with Petunia, Dumbledore extended the protection through familial ties, a blood bond that tethered the ancient magic to her doorstep. It wasn't mere proximity, it was literal. Harry's mother's blood in his body echoed in Petunia's, creating a living anchor. This repelled dark forces, as seen when Quirrell burned at Harry's touch in 1992, his skin blistering like acid from the residual power. Voldemort sensed it too, raging against this filthy muggle dwelling that kept his prey safe. Petunia's role deepens the tragedy. She hated magic, slamming doors on owls and Dudley's tantrums masking deeper resentment, yet unknowingly sustained the ward until Harry turned 17, when the blood magic naturally expired. Dumbledore's letter to her, tucked in that first Hogwarts acceptance, reminded her of this duty, invoking Lily's eyes in Harry's face to stir buried affection. How did it work on a practical level? Did it amplify the Fidelius charm around Privet Drive, or weave invisible threads into the very mortar of Number 4? No counterspells existed. Even priori incantatem in the graveyard couldn't fully breach it until the bond broke. This old magic exposes the wizarding world's blind spots, powers predating Hogwarts' founding in 994, untamed by curricula or laws. Why no research post-1981? When it humbled the century's greatest dark wizard, fear perhaps, that harnessing sacrifice could unleash horrors, or simple arrogance, believing one law superior to such primitive forces. Fans speculate endlessly, but canon holds firm. It's unexplained, a relic as enigmatic as the Veil's whispers. As we peel back these layers of protection and loss, consider the mirrors that reflect not scars, but the soul's hidden yearnings. Up next in Chapter 20, the Mirror of Erised, reflection of the soul. What deepest desires did it truly reveal, and why did it vanish without a trace? I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. While Lily Potter's sacrifice in 1981 tapped into that raw, ancient magic of love, shielding her son in a way no other parent's death ever seemed to. Another artifact in Hogwarts delved even deeper into the human soul, stripping away illusions to reveal our truest longings. This was the Mirror of Erised, standing silent in a forgotten corner of the castle, waiting for those pure enough to gaze into its silvery depths. Picture Harry Potter, just 11 years old, wandering the shadowed corridors of Hogwarts in the winter of 1991. The castle's stone walls, etched with centuries of secrets, led him to a dusty classroom long abandoned, its air thick with the scent of old parchment and forgotten spells. There, propped against the wall like a sentinel from another age, was the mirror itself. Tall as a man, its frame carved with strange runes that seemed to shift under candlelight. At its peak, those eerie words, Eristra eruit ub cafruit on Wossi. Read backward, they whispered. I show not your face, but your heart's desire. But where had this enigmatic object come from? Its origins vanish into the mists of wizarding history, predating even the oldest Hogwarts records we know. Whispers among scholars suggest it was crafted by an obscure medieval enchanter, perhaps one obsessed with the boundaries between reality and longing. During the turbulent years, when alchemy and soul magic blurred, unlike the Deathly Hallows, with their Peverell legends, no tale anchors the Mirror of Erised. No named creator, no heroic quest. It simply existed, passed through shadowy hands across Europe, surfacing in antique shops and private collections before Albus Dumbledore encountered it sometime in the late 1940s or early 50s. Dumbledore, ever the collector of profound oddities, recognized its danger immediately. A mirror that didn't reflect the body, but the soul's deepest ache could shatter minds, ensnare the weak-willed in endless fantasy. He acquired it discreetly, perhaps from a dubious dealer in Nocturne Alley or a crumbling wizarding estate, and for decades he kept it hidden, studying its properties in secret. Why bring it to Hogwarts in 1991, of all years? Precisely when Voldemort's shadow loomed anew and the Philosopher's Stone arrived under tight guard. Dumbledore placed it in that disused third-floor classroom, warded with spells only the cleverest student might breach, turning a peril into a perfect trial. Harry first saw his parents there, their translucent forms smiling, arms outstretched, murmuring words of love he'd never heard in life. Night after night he returned, emaciated from skipping meals, lost in the warmth of Lily and James waving back. The mirror fed no sustenance, offered no embrace, only the cruel tease of what could never be. Dumbledore found him at last, his half-moon spectacles glinting in the dim light, voice gentle as he explained the mirror's curse. It shows the heart's desire, but to linger is to starve amid illusions. Then came the lie, so subtle yet so telling of the headmaster's own burdens. When Harry asked what Dumbledore saw, the old wizard chuckled softly and said, "I see myself holding a pair of thick, woolen socks. One can never have enough socks." Another time, he claimed it was simply himself with a fresh pair. Socks, mundane, a deflection wrapped in humour. But we know the truth now, pieced from later confessions and glimpses into his fractured past. Dumbledore didn't see socks. He saw his family whole, his brother Aberforth, his sister Ariana, sweet, broken Ariana, alive and laughing, untouched by the tragedy that haunted him since 1990. The duel of 1989 between the Dumbledore brothers and young Grindelwald had led to her death, a scar deeper than any dark mark. In the mirror that wound healed, reunion without remorse. Why lie to Harry? Perhaps to teach restraint through levity, to model not dwelling on desires, or maybe to shield the boy from seeing a great man's vulnerability, reminding him that even Dumbledore chased ghosts. The deception underscores the mirror's peril. It doesn't lie, but we do, to protect our fragile cause. Yet the mirror of Erised proved more than a temptress. It became a sentinel, a sentient judge of character in the trial for the Philosopher's Stone. Dumbledore positioned it as the final guardian in that underground chamber. After Fluffy the three-headed dog, the Devil's Snare, the flying keys, the chessboard, the troll, and the potion riddle, only one worthy could claim the stone from its pouch within. Quirrellmort approached, his turban reeking of deceit, and saw himself triumphant. Voldemort restored. He reached in vain. The stone vanished. Moments later, Harry arrived, desperate to stop him. Gazing in, he saw not his parents this time, but himself holding the stone, knowing he had no intention of using it. Pure of heart, untainted by greed, he thrust his hand inside and pulled it free. How did the mirror know? This is the unforgivable crux, the law gap that chills the spine. It wasn't mere enchantment. The mirror discerned intent, peering into the soul's motives like a pensieve sifts memories. Was it alive in some arcane way, its runes pulsing with judgment? Did it weigh desires against actions, granting only to those whose hearts echoed Lily's sacrificial purity? No counter spell is named, no maker's note survive. Quirrell, body and soul twisted by Voldemort, failed utterly. Harry, marked by love's ancient magic, passed. The mirror enforced a moral trial, vanishing the prize for the unworthy, materializing it for the true. Afterward, Dumbledore removed it from Hogwarts, banishing it to some unknown vault or abyss, lest it lure more victims. We never hear of it again. No auctions at Gringotts, no whispers in the Department of Mysteries. Did it judge correctly every time? What if a subtler villain, one whose desires masked as noble, had gazed in? The mirror's sentience hints at deeper wizarding truths, artifacts that read the soul, unbound by wands or incantations, echoing that old magic of sacrifice we just explored. These unanswered layers, The mirror's shadowy genesis, its journey to that 1991 classroom, Dumbledore's poignant fib, its role as impartial arbiter, leave us pondering what other soul-probing relics lurk in the castle's depths. And if the mirror judged hearts so flawlessly, what does it say about those born into magic yet forever outsiders, craving a reflection that never quite fits? That's where we'll turn next in Chapter 21. Squibs, the genetic outcasts, those wizarding world's silent rejects, forever watching magic from the shadows, desperate for the mirror to show them a wand in their hand. Dumbledore's reflections in the mirror of Erised hid layers of personal longing, but they also hinted at a wizarding society built on unspoken exclusions, where certain individuals were tucked away like forgotten relics in disused classrooms. Consider Argus Filch, the hunched caretaker of Hogwarts, forever patrolling its stone corridors with a lantern that cast long, flickering shadows on suits of armour. Born to magical parents, yet utterly devoid of a wand's spark, Filch embodied a cruel genetic riddle that J.K. Rowling left dangling without resolution. Squibs emerge from pure magical bloodlines as these silent anomalies, children who inherit the wizarding world's expectations, but none of its power. Argus Filch, with his pinched face and perpetual scowl, spent decades mopping floors and enforcing rules he could never bend with a spell. His only companion, the spectral-eyed cat, Mrs. Norris, who seemed to prowl with an almost magical vigilance. Rowling drops him into the narrative early, in 1991, as Harry Potter's first glimpse of Hogwarts authority, but never unpacks the how or why of his condition. How does magic, that dominant force coursing through generations of witches and wizards, simply skip a child? Is it a recessive trait lurking in ancient family trees, or something more profound, like a fracture in the very essence of magical inheritance? Then there's Arabella Figg, the peculiar neighbour in Little Winging, with her musty home smelling of cabbage and her endless supply of undercooked donuts. Harry meets her in 1995, after the Dementor attack, learning she's no ordinary muggle, but a squib planted by Dumbledore to watch over him. Figg's testimony sways the hearing at the Ministry. Her awkward testimony, painting a picture of flying cloaks and a hooded figure. Yet her life too whispers of isolation, decades on the fringes, privy to secrets but powerless to wield them. Rowling confirms her status through interviews, but the books offer no biological blueprint. These squibs challenge the wizarding assumption of heritability. If magic is bloodbound, why do Filch and Figg draw the short straw? Fan theories swirl around diluted lineages or environmental factors, but canon stays silent, leaving us to ponder if squibs represent a deliberate evolutionary check or a glitch in magic's code. This leads to the deeper wound, the societal erasure of non-magical children and their lack of rights in the wizarding world. Squibs vanish into the margins, unacknowledged in official records, barred from Hogwarts, yet haunted by its shadow. Filch clings to Hogwarts like a ghost, his bitterness fueling midnight detentions and a fetish for chains. As if punishment could conjure the magic he craves, the Ministry, with its pure blood obsessions, treats them as embarrassments to be hidden, perhaps shipped off to Muggle streets or remote corners, stripped of galleons, protections, or even a wand permit. No trials for squib discrimination surface in the tales. No advocacy groups rally in Diagon Alley. Arabella Figg ekes out an existence amid Muggle tedium, her squib knowledge a double-edged sword, granting insight but no agency. Rowling paints them as outcasts without portfolio, denied the Statute of Secrecy's full embrace or the wizarding community's warmth. What laws govern their births? Do families disown them quietly or fabricate Muggle adoptions? The void is chilling, a reminder that the wizarding world, for all its wonders, discards its own when the wand arm falters, and lingering over it all is the starkest question. Can a squib ever regain magic, or is the severance permanent and absolute? Filch's arc offers no redemption. Even in the Battle of Hogwarts in 1998, he fights with a crossbow, not a curse. Figg contributes from afar, a role observational at best. Potions or artifacts tempt speculation. Could Felix Felicis ignite a spark, or a time-turner loop back to rewrite fate? Yet no canon precedent exists. The Elder Wand chooses masters but ignores the powerless. Some whisper of ancient rituals in forgotten tomes, blood rites to reawaken dormant veins. But Rowling provides no hint. Is squibdom a lifelong exile, etched into the soul like a failed sorting? Or does potential simmer, awaiting a catalyst we never see? The permanence feels absolute, a genetic guillotine drop that underscores magic's capricious cruelty. These outcasts peel back the wizarding world's polished facade, revealing fault lines in its foundational myths. Pure blood supremacy crumbles under the weight of squibs, proof that no lineage is infallible. Filch's resentment echoes through Hogwarts drafts, a constant undercurrent to Harry's triumphs, while Fig's quiet vigil humanizes the surveillance state. Rowling teases their plight but never resolves it, leaving us adrift in a sea of unanswered inheritance. Up next in Chapter 22, the portraits. Sentience or simulation? We'll uncover whether those chattering faces lining Hogwarts walls possess true souls, or merely mimic life through enchanted oils. Imagine the implications if every painted eye hides a deeper deception. While squibs like Argus Filch scrape by in the shadows of Hogwarts, forever marked as magical rejects, with no true place in their world, the castle's portraits offer a far more unsettling permanence. These painted figures, frozen in oil and enchantment, stir to life with uncanny familiarity, their eyes following you down corridors, lined with centuries of watchful faces. You felt it yourself, haven't you? That prickling sense under their gaze, as if they're not just images but fragments of lives clinging to canvas. Consider the way they move. A knight in tarnished armour lunges eternally at his rival across the hall, their painted swords clashing in silent fury night after night. The fat lady swings open her frame with a gossip's trill, demanding passwords from bleary-eyed students at dawn. These aren't mere decorations. They're infused with magic during the subject's lifetime, capturing quirks of speech, gestures, even tempers. Yet here's the chill that seeps into the stone. What exactly lives within those frames? The disturbing reality of Hogwarts portraits leaves us questioning if they're ghosts bound unwillingly to paint, AI-like imprints, programmed with surface memories, or trapped souls stripped of their full essence, doomed to echo without end. Rowling scatters clues like breadcrumbs in a maze. In the first book, nearly headless Nick drifts past portraits that nod and wave, their conversations flowing as if across a crowded common room. By the time we reach the castle's hidden depths, healers like Dilys Derwent lean out from her frame in the headmaster's office, offering sharp counsel on potions gone awry. But sentience, true awareness, portraits remember their living days. They gossip about old scandals. They even doze off mid-sentence. Phineas Nigellus Black, that sneering Slytherin headmaster, relays messages from frame to frame with all the spite of his original self. It's as if the painting drinks in the person's mannerisms through some arcane ritual, distilling them into a perpetual performance. Fans whisper of soul splinters, akin to Horcruxes but consensual, or perhaps a wizarding facsimile of a pensieve, replaying personality loops without the core spark of independent thought. Delve deeper, and the horror sharpens. Imagine sitting for your portrait as a revered witch or wizard, pouring magic into the brushstrokes, believing you're gifting future generations wisdom. But what if it's a prison? Ghosts like Nick choose their spectral existence, moaning through halls rather than passing on. Portraits, though, can't wander freely. They're chained to their frames, their lives, a simulation of vitality. Ariana Dumbledore's portrait in the headmaster's office remains silent, a blank-eyed void, suggesting the magic fails without the subject's full cooperation. Or perhaps her tragedy severed whatever essence might transfer. Are they aware of their half-life, resenting the students who prod them for secrets? Or are they blissful algorithms, fed data from the artist's observation, mimicking sentience without suffering? Rowling never clarifies, leaving us to ponder if every smirk from the Sorting Hat's neighbouring frame hides a muted scream. Their interactions hint at more. Portraits bow to the headmaster, chide first years for tardiness, even flirt across walls during feasts. Yet limitations bind them tightly, revealing the enchantment's fragile weave. Portrait travel isn't boundless freedom. They can slip from frame to frame, but only within Hogwarts' sprawling network. Like whispers threading through a vast, interconnected web. Beyond the castle, nothing. No leaping to Diagon Alley or the Ministry. They're anchored to the grounds, their mobility a parlour trick, confined to painted doorways and alcoves. How do they communicate across those vast distances within the castle's labyrinthine halls? Through an invisible lattice of magic, frames linked like flue hearths, allowing voices and images to hop instantaneously from Gryffindor Tower to the dungeons. Phineas Nigellus proves it in Deathly Hallows, shuttling intel from Grimmauld, placed back to Hogwarts by visiting his ancestral home's portrait. Wait, no, that's the exception, or is it? Actually, his frame at number 12 enables that relay. But standard portraits stay put, gossip rippling castle-wide via this portrait post system, efficient yet eerily impersonal. This network fuels their eerie utility, but cracks appear under scrutiny. Why can't they venture further? Is the magic's range tied to the castle's ancient wards, erected by the founders themselves? Salazar Slytherin's serpentine frames in the dungeons rarely stir beyond their lair, as if territorial spells hem them in. Communication falters too, messages garble over long hops, personalities fading like echoes in fog. It's a system ripe for espionage, yet never exploited fully. Imagine Death Eaters charming a frame to spy undetected. Rowling dangles these threads, without pulling them taut, heightening the portrait's isolation. Nowhere is this more poignant than with Albus Dumbledore's portrait, activated mere hours after his fall from the Astronomy Tower in 1997. It awakens in the headmaster's office, eyes twinkling as before, dispensing advice on Horcrux hunts and Elder Wand loyalties. Harry confides in it during those dark final months, drawing comfort from its familiar baritone, urging resilience. But here's the legal crux that underscores their simulated nature. Why could Dumbledore's portrait give advice, but not act as a legal witness? In the wizarding courts, truth serum and oaths demand the living soul, not its painted shadow. The portrait retains knowledge, mannerisms, even insights from Dumbledore's final thoughts, but lacks the verifiable essence for testimony. Veritaserum probes memories, not echoes. Pensive extractions pull from minds, not canvases. Courts would dismiss it as a clever forgery, a mimicry too imperfect to swear upon. Rowling implies this in passing, through Harry's own doubts, confirming portraits as advisory phantoms, wise but powerless in matters of law, trapped consultants, not proxies for the dead. This half-existence gnaws at you, doesn't it? Portraits line every stairwell, privy to Hogwarts' deepest secrets, yet voiceless in the wider world. Do they envy the ghosts their freedom, or pity the living their fleeting years? The fat lady's painted bosom heaves with indignation at wrong passwords, but can she dream of flesh again? Phineas Nigellus rails against Gryffindors from his perch, preserving his bigotry eternally, simulation or soul. The ambiguity lingers like mist in the Forbidden Forest, a reminder that even in a world of wonders, some magics trap more than they free. As we peel back these layers of enchantment and echo, Unbreakable Vow. The ultimate binding, where a single promise can seal fates tighter than any portrait frame. With consequences that Sash Shatter lives in ways Rowling left hauntingly unresolved, while portraits at Hogwarts flicker between frames, carrying fragmented conversations across stone corridors with such fragile connections. Imagine a magic that sews souls together, unbreakable even by death itself. The Unbreakable Vow stands as one of the wizarding world's most terrifying enforcers of promises, a ritual so absolute that its golden threads pulse with lethal finality. Picture a dim, cramped house on Spinner's End in the summer of 1996. Narcissa Malfoy, her face pale and drawn under the weight of dread for her son Draco, seeks out Severus Snape in secrecy. Draco has been branded with the Dark Mark, tasked by Voldemort himself to assassinate Albus Dumbledore, a mission that could shatter the boy before it even begins. Narcissa, desperate, begs Snape for an oath. Protect Draco at all costs, and if he falters, strike the killing blow yourself. Snape, his black eyes unreadable in the flickering candlelight, agrees without hesitation. They clasp hands over the bonfire of the Unbreakable Vow, a third party. Bellatrix Lestrange, Narcissa's sister, gripping their linked wrists as the tongues of flame weave between their palms. Questions seal the pact. Will you protect Draco Malfoy from harm? If Draco fails, will you carry out the deed Dumbledore must die? With each I will, the fiery cords tighten, binding their lives in a contract no magic can unravel. What makes this vow truly unforgivable in its mystery is the sheer absence of any loophole. Magical contracts in the wizarding world often bend. Polyjuice disguises fool oaths, confundus charms cloud intent. Even the imperious curse twists free will without snapping the threads. Yet the Unbreakable Vow defies them all. No fine print hides in its incantations. No clever wording offers escape. J.K. Rowling describes it as a vow where breaking the terms invokes instant death. But she leaves the mechanics shrouded. Is it a curse embedded in the soul, like a dormant killing curse? Does it draw from the same ancient power as the Fidelius charm, lodging in the very essence of the swearer's being? Fans speculate wildly. Perhaps it mimics the killing curse's green flash, or maybe it simply stops the heart mid-beat, as if the magic drains the life force back through those golden flames. But no character ever breaks one on the page, so the truth remains a void. Snape honours his word by killing Dumbledore on the astronomy tower that June, sparing Draco the sin and Narcissa the grief. Had he refused, what horror awaited? Rowling never shows us, letting the dread linger. Delve deeper into that fatal trigger, and the questions multiply like shadows in the restricted section. When an unbreakable vow activates its penalty, what ravages the body? Does the flesh blister where the flames first touched, golden fire erupting from the veins like liquid sunlight? Or is it subtler, a sudden rupture of magic within, organs seizing as the soul recoils from its own betrayal? Consider the witnesses. Bellatrix watches with narrowed eyes, her wand at the ready, as if expecting some visible sign of the vow's power. Yet nothing manifests until the moment of truth. Historical precedents whisper hints. Pure blood families invoke them for marriages or inheritances. But tales of breakers are hushed, their deaths attributed to mysterious ailments or duels gone wrong. In the Malfoy vaults, perhaps, lie scrolls detailing the vow's origins, tracing back to medieval witch trials where oaths sealed alliances against Muggle inquisitors. But Rowling offers no autopsy of its curse, no healer's account of the corpse left behind, charred, withered, or eerily peaceful. The body becomes a canvas for unanswered questions, a testament to magic's cruel precision. This leads to the deepest enigma. Why isn't the Unbreakable Vow the Ministry's go-to for every high-stakes pact? Azkaban oaths, international treaties, even oral loyalty bonds. All could be forged in those unbreakable flames, eliminating traitors like Peter Pettigrew before they scurry into rat form. The Department of Magical Law Enforcement hoards time-turners and truth serums, yet shuns this foolproof enforcer. Is it rarity, known only to old blood families like the Malfoys and Snapes? Or does the ritual demand such intimate trust, hand-clasped eye to eye, that it repels bureaucratic coldness? Ministers like Cornelius Fudge would quail at its finality. No appeals, no Wizengamot trials, just death for deceit. Voldemort himself never mandates it for his Death Eaters, perhaps fearing its impartial blade. Imagine Lucius Malfoy bound to deliver Harry Potter, only to falter and perish on the spot. The Ministry's archives, dusty tomes in the bowels of Whitehall, likely catalogue exceptions we never see. Vows dissolved by death of a party, or clauses for force majeure like Imperius. But Rowling leaves it unexplained, a relic of elite magic, too perilous for daily governance, lurking in the shadows of pure blood privilege. Snape's vow ripples through the series like an unseen Patronus, altering fates without fanfare. It shields Draco from Voldemort's wrath, allows Narcissa's lie to save Harry in the Forbidden Forest, cements Snape's double agency in Dumbledore's grand design. Yet its mechanics haunt us. Those golden flames, born of wandless incantation spoken in low voices. What ancient spellwork do they channel? Bellatrix's role as Bonder raises chills. Does she infuse malice into the mix, or is her presence mere formality? Pure blood rituals often require a witness of equal standing, ensuring no Muggle-born could tamper with the purity of the bond. And Narcissa's gamble, entrusting her son's life to a man her sister despises, exposes the vow's emotional razor. It amplifies desperation into destiny. As we peel back these layers, the unbreakable vow emerges not just as a plot device, but a mirror to the wizarding world's hypocrisies. Oaths unbreakable for personal vendettas, yet ignored for societal safeguards. Why no vow binds the minister to the statute of secrecy, or Aurors to non-corruptible justice? Perhaps the fear runs deeper. In a world of wandlore and phoenix tears, true finale terrifies even wizards. That terror of binding magic finds an even more intimate echo in the hearts of wands themselves, which we'll uncover next in Wand Lore. The Sentience of Wooden Core, where you'll discover why your wand might choose you back, whispering secrets that could shatter every vow we've discussed. Just as the unbreakable vow seals a promise with threads of magic that twist through the soul until death claims the breaker, a wizard's wand forges a far deeper alliance, one alive with its own quiet will. Ollivander always whispered it best: the wand chooses the wizard, not the other way around. Picture the dim glow of his shop in Diagon Alley. Shelves groaning under thousands of narrow boxes, each holding a slender length of wood, pulsing with hidden life. These aren't mere tools, carved and cored like a broomstick or cauldron. They're partners, sentient in ways the books only hint at. Their cores, unicorn hair, dragon heartstring, phoenix feather, beating like faint hearts within the grain. Woods remember, Ollie repels evil. Yew embraces the dark arts, Elder Wood demands a wielder of rare power. It's the core that awakens true awareness. A fragment of magical creature woven into the wand's spine, granting it instincts sharper than any spell. When a wand finds its match, it leaps into the hand with a warmth that spreads up the arm, a shiver of recognition. Harry felt it that first visit in 1991, his holly and phoenix feather wand humming, as if greeting an old friend across lifetimes. Why this bond? Rowling leaves it shrouded. Does the wood sense the wizard's intent through some ancient enchantment? Or does the core whisper secrets from its beastly origin, testing for harmony before yielding its fire? This sentience explains the wand's fierce loyalty, unbreakable until blood or conquest intervenes. Take the Elder Wand, that notorious relic of beechwood and Thestral hair, passed through Dumbledore's hands only after he bested Grindelwald in 1945. It didn't merely obey, it anticipated, amplifying spells with a thunderous eagerness. Yet when Draco Malfoy disarmed Dumbledore atop the Astronomy Tower in 1997, the wand's allegiance shifted instantly to the boy, despite never touching his palm. Voldemort claimed it later, wrenching it from Draco's mother Narcissa during the skirmish at Malfoy Manor. But the wood knew better. It faltered in the master's hand, spilling secrets in Priori Incantatem's glow. How does a wand know its master has been defeated in a duel, even from miles away? This is the heart of the enigma, a consciousness defying distance and time. In the heat of battle at Malfoy Manor, Harry's Expelliarmus ripped Draco's Hawthorn wand from Bellatrix's grip. And across the countryside, back at Hogwarts, the Elder Wand stirred in Dumbledore's tomb, awaiting its new bearer. No owl, no Patronus carried the news. The wand simply knew, as if the cores communed through invisible lie lines of magic, or the wood itself tasted defeat on the wind. We've seen it before. James Potter's wand surrendered to Voldemort without a fight in 1981, lying docile in the ashes of Godric's Hollow. Sirius Black's yielded to his cousin Bellatrix at the Ministry in 1996. even as he tumbled through the veil. These wands don't grieve. They adapt, realigning like living compasses to the strongest claim. Ollivander grasped more than he ever shared, his silver eyes gleaming with secrets. Harvested over a century in that dusty shop, he crafted wands for Tom Riddle in the 1940s, sensing the U's dark affinity before the boy became Voldemort. He knew Harry's wand shared a feather with Voldemort's, a twin-core destiny that sparked their wand's dance in the graveyard of Little Hangleton in 1995. Captured and tortured by Death Eaters in 1998, Ollivander revealed fragments. The wand's choice is irrevocable until one. Cores can rebel against unworthy hands, but he took volumes to his grave. How did he intuit the perfect match amid thousands? Did he converse with the wands, hearing their murmurs in the quiet hours? Rowling grants him no backstory beyond family tradition since 1782. No spells or rituals disclosed. His knowledge died with him in the Battle of Hogwarts, leaving us to wonder if wand makers commune with elemental spirits, or if the woods themselves select their voices. This veil of wand lore thickens when you consider the core's origins. Unicorn hair wands resist the dark arts, loyal to the last. Dragon heartstring learns quickly but turns traitor under pressure. Phoenix feather bonds for life, rare and picky. Yet why do they sense allegiance shifts instantaneously? Is it a soul echo, mirroring the Fidelius charm's soul, binding but untethered from human will? Fans speculate ley lines or ambient magic, but canon offers no glimpse. Even the wandless wanderings persist. Grindelwald wielded the Elder Wand masterfully pre-1945, yet it betrayed him to Dumbledore. Harry's own wand splintered under Voldemort's assault in 1998, only to be repaired by the Elder Wand's grace. Did it forgive or merely recognise its fractured kin? Delve deeper, and the philosophy unravels further. If wands choose, what of those who never find theirs? Squibs like Filch grasp nothing but splinters. Muggle-borns arrive wandless until Ollivander's shelves call. And the cause, harvested ethically, we're told, but from creatures of legend, do they consent? Fawkes gifted 2 feathers willingly, birthing Harry and Voldemort's wands, but unicorns slain for hair, dragons slain for heartstrings. The sentience implies consent, a mutual pact, yet Rowling silences the slaughterhouses behind the craft. As we turn the page on these whispering woods, another chamber of mysteries beckons. One that swallowed Sirius Black, bowl and echoes with voices from beyond. What lies on the other side of the veil calls to us next in Chapter 25, The Veil of Death. Part 2, where the whispers grow louder and the truth pulls ever closer. Wands possess this eerie sentience, detecting a master's defeat across vast distances without a single spell to bridge the gap. That same invisible thread of magic hums through the Department of Mysteries, where the veil stands as the wizarding world's most haunting enigma. Tucked in the death chamber, this weathered stone archway, draped in a fluttering curtain of silvery light, has whispered secrets to those who dare listen since the ministry's founding, around 1707. You can almost feel the chill in that circular room, the air thick with an otherworldly hush, broken only by faint voices murmuring from beyond the veil. Names, fragments of lives long past. In June of 1996, Sirius Black tumbled through it during the brutal clash in the ministry atrium, his laughter cut short as he vanished into nothingness. Harry heard him calling back, teasing almost, but Sirius never returned, not as flesh, not as anything solid. The veil doesn't spit out the living, and it swallows the dead whole. What powers this thing? Rowling never spells it out, but its placement in the department screams purpose. This shadowy wing of the ministry hoards the wizarding world's deepest riddles. Time turners shattered in 94, brains floating in tanks, a locked door pulsing with love's raw force. The veil fits right in, an artifact predating even those, perhaps unearthed from some forgotten tomb, or crafted by ancients who toyed with death's boundaries. Fans speculate it's a one-way portal to the afterlife, a rift where souls cross but can't recross. Yet Rowling leaves the origin blank, ancient text or Merlin legend to claim it. Now, connect that to the Resurrection Stone, the second deathly hallow hidden in the snitch Harry clutched through his trials. In 1998, as Voldemort's reign crumbled, Harry activated it in the Forbidden Forest, summoning shades of his parents, Sirius and Lupin. They appeared, ethereal advisors offering solace before his sacrifice, their forms shimmering like echoes from a dream. The stone pulls ghosts from some limbo, lets them speak wisdom one last time. But Sirius, who fell through the veil 2 years prior, manifested clear as the others. No distortion, no silence from beyond. Here's the twist that chills the bones. The stone bridges to the dead without ripping the fabric of reality, while the veil enforces an iron finality. Ghosts in the Potterverse choose to linger, imprints of soul, choosing Hogwarts halls over oblivion. Nearly headless Nick rattling chains since 1492, the Fatfra welcoming the lost. They haunt because they reject full passage, their essence too tied to the living world. But the veil, it demands surrender. Those who cross it like Sirius shed that choice. No ghost emerges from its whispers. No stone can yank them back. Why? Ghosts are voluntary remnants, pale facsimiles denied true return. The veil strips even that, hurling souls into whatever lies after. Perhaps Dumbledore's next great adventure. That phrase lingers from the night Dumbledore fell in 1997, his eyes twinkling as he spoke of mysteries beyond the veil of life. He promised Harry it wasn't the end, just a doorway to wonders untold. Yet the Battle of Hogwarts in May of 1998 tested that brutally. Lupin and Tonks perished shielding the castle. Fred Weasley gone in a blast, countless others claimed by curses and rubble. No resurrection stone revives them fully. Their ghosts don't drift the grounds. Those deaths ring with permanence. No hallows to cheat the toll. Dumbledore crossed first, then they followed, stepping into that adventure without a backward glance. The stone connects directly to the department because both probe death's mechanics, yet neither explains the vial's supremacy. The stone echoes souls from a half-state, ghosts as proof that will alone keeps some tethered. But pull too hard, demand flesh from the veil, and magic recoils. Perhaps that's why no one's ever returned, why the whispers taunt but never deliver. Sirius could have clued Harry in during that forest reunion. Whispered the veil's truth, but he didn't. Rowling seals it shut, a mystery mirroring life's own unanswered ache. If the veil guards the ultimate threshold, locking out even Hallow's power, what happens when later tales try to rewrite those finalities? Up next, Chapter 26, The Cursed Child and the Retcon Problem, unravels how one play dared to tamper with 1998's scars, sparking debates that make the veil seem tame, while the Resurrection Stone lets echoes of the dead whisper back to us. Pulling them fully through the veil remains impossible, a one-way threshold, sealed by the laws of magic itself. But what if those laws weren't so absolute? What if time itself could be bent, unraveling the very fabric of everything we thought we knew from the original 7 books? Enter Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, released in 2016 as the 8th story in the saga, not a novel by J.K. Rowling alone, a script penned with playwright Jack Thorne and director John Tiffany, billed as the official continuation. It picks up 19 years after the Battle of Hogwarts, following Harry's son Albus Severus Potter and his friend Scorpius Malfoy. They steal a time-turner, not just any version, but an experimental one from the Department of Mysteries, capable of leaping back decades. Their meddling spirals into alternate timelines. One where Voldemort wins, another drowning the world in a plague of rats, all to save Cedric Diggory from the Triwizard Tournament. This wasn't mere fan service. It dove headfirst into time travel, a mechanic Rowling had touched on delicately in Prisoner of Azkaban. Remember Hermione's third-year schedule in 1993 to 1994? She juggles classes with a time-turner, loaned by McGonagall, rewinding mere hours at a time. The device dangles from her neck like a fragile hourglass, its sand slipping only in short bursts. enough to attend divination and arithmancy without paradox. Dumbledore warns them explicitly. No major changes, no tempting fate beyond the immediate. Push too far, and you risk snapping the chain of events. Those time-turners shatter spectacularly in the Department of Mysteries battle. The next year, 1994, their glass exploding under Dolohov and Lucius Malfoy's curses, purging the Ministry's supply to prevent catastrophe. Cursed Child shatters that restraint entirely. Albus and Scorpius don't just loop a few hours. They vault back to 1994, 1995, even 1981, the night Voldemort falls. They sabotage Harry's parents' protection, let Cedric join the Death Eaters, watch Voldemort triumph at the Ministry. Timelines fracture and reform with Delphi, Voldemort's secret daughter scheming across eras. The original rules, limited scope, no grand alterations, evaporate. Why could Hermione barely manage a day without exhaustion? Yet these boys rewrite history wholesale. The Ministry destroys all time-turners post-1994, yet this prototype persists, hidden away. And Delphi? She masters time travel solo, evading paradoxes that should have unraveled her existence. These post-canon additions from 2016 complicated the original 7 books' logic in ways that still echo through fan circles. The fragile ecosystem of time magic, so carefully contained in Prisoner of Azkaban, balloons into a narrative free-for-all. Suddenly, every pivotal moment, Lily's sacrifice, the prophecy's delivery, even the Potters, hiding under the Fidelius charm, hangs vulnerable. Why didn't Dumbledore retrieve a time-turner to save James and Lily, or the Order to intercept Pettigrew before his betrayal? The book's tension relied on inevitability, choices locked in, consequences rippling forward. Cursed Child suggests otherwise, retrofitting the world with loopholes that undermine the stakes of every prior death and victory. The time-turner rewrite broke the established rules of the 1993 to 1994 school year most glaringly. Hermione's device enforces strict limits, 3 hours maximum, for her own recounting, with physical tolls like dehydration from looped meals. She can't attend every class. Mrs. Buckbeak's execution loop, precisely because overextension risks detection. McGonagall confiscates it at year's end, citing danger. Yet Cursed Child's version spans years, self-repairs after destruction, and allows multiple users without the original's cascade failures. Characters observe their past selves, undetected, meddle with minimal butterfly effects until plot demands chaos. It's as if the Department of Mysteries hoarded godlike tech while doling out trinkets to students, a contradiction that phrased the Ministry's incompetence to competence arc. Fans erupted, splitting sharply between Rowling's word and textual evidence. For some, Rowling's endorsement as canon sanctified it. Her universe, her rules, even if penned by others. She tweeted approval, calling it everything I ever said about the family. But textual purists clung to the 7 books' internal consistency. Petitions surged. Review bombing on Amazon labelled it fanfiction, not scripture. Forums like Reddit's Raw Harry Potter dissected every inconsistency. If time-turners could avert tragedies, why the body count from Godric's Hollow to Hogwarts? Rowling's word held promotional sway. But the text, those original pages etched with bootstrap paradoxes and whispered warnings, won the long war in fanfiction and debates. Cursed Child sold tickets, grossing millions on stage, yet it polarized like no other extension, exposing the tension between creator intent and narrative integrity. Delphi's existence piles on the strain, birthing Voldemort, a child with Bellatrix Lestrange, amid the Battle of Hogwarts, undetected by legilimency masters or polyjuice scrutiny. A time-turner mastery implies Voldemort could have looped back for the Elder Wand pre-1997, or recruited ancient wizards like Merlin. The book's timeline, once a taut string from 1981 to 1998, frays into multiversal threads, cheapening Harry's orphanhood and the prophecy's weight. Even the play's mechanics betray the lore. Scorpius glimpses his motherless life in an alt-time Elinan, echoing the Resurrection Stone's grief, But time travel trumps death's finality, mocking the Veil's whispers we explored last time. Rowling later clarified on Wizarding World that Cursed Child is canon, yet her Pottermore writings hedged on time-turners post-destruction, fueling the divide. Fans who prioritize textual evidence argue the original stands self-contained, their mysteries intact without retroactive meddling. This retcon ripple reaches deeper, questioning agency. Harry's choices, facing Quirrell, outwitting Quirrellmort, dueling the diary, lose gravity if a stolen device could erase them. The series' theme of love conquering fear curdles when plot armor inflates to temporal omnipotence. As we peel back these layers of what might have been rewritten, the chaos of that final night at Hogwarts calls louder still. Next in Chapter 27, the Battle of Hogwarts, the aftermath, uncover the hidden tolls, the swapped fates, and the apologies that came too late. What really lingered in the rubble long after Voldemort's fall, while the cursed child twisted time itself into knots that unravelled the fragile rules of those 3rd and 4th school years. The true unravelling came after the dust settled on Hogwarts grounds. On May 2nd, 1998, Voldemort fell for good, but the Wizarding World didn't simply snap back into order like a well-cast reparo. The battle's toll lingered in ways Rowling never fully mapped out, leaving shadows where celebrations should have shone brightest. Picture the Great Hall at dawn, tables shoved aside amid the rubble, house elves darting with bandages and broth. Bodies lay covered in white sheets, the air thick with the copper tang of blood and the faint, acrid smoke of curses that had scorched stone. 50 brave souls from the Order and Hogwarts defenders perished that night. Professors like Flitwick barely standing. Students with faces too young for such scars. Remus Lupin and Nymphadora Tonks, fresh parents to little Teddy, cut down in the corridors. Fred Weasley, gone in an explosion that echoed his twins' mischief forever. Colin Creevey, the eager second year from Harry's first adventure, clutching his broken camera. Lavender Brown, mauled by Fenrir Greyback, and so many more, names etched into memorials that fans still debate. Yet here's where the mystery deepens into something oddly personal. Years later, long after the books closed, Rowling took to Twitter, crafting what fans dubbed her apology tradition. On anniversaries of that fateful day, she'd muse aloud, regretting certain deaths as if the ink weren't dry. In 2012, she confessed she'd have spared Lupin and Tonks by killing Arthur Weasley instead, preserving the werewolf's arc while sparing Molly deeper grief. 2013 brought pangs over Fred, wondering if Percy could have taken his place. These weren't idle what-ifs. They were public reckonings, Rowling justifying choices she'd locked in stone over a decade prior. Why the need to revisit? Was it guilt over the war's human cost, or unease that her character's ends felt too abrupt, too unearned in the chaos? Fans pored over Pottermore updates, hunting clues, but the apologies only amplified the void. No canonical revisions, just echoes of doubt from the author herself. That uncertainty bled into the power vacuum at the Ministry's heart. Voldemort's coup had gutted it since 1997. Death Eaters like Thickness puppeteered under Imperius. Fierce Thickness as a false minister, the atrium a parade ground for masked enforcers. When Harry disarmed Voldemort at last, cheers erupted from the survivors. But who swept in to claim the ashes? Kingsley Shacklebolt, battle-worn Auror, assumed minister duties on the spot, his deep voice booming calm amid the frenzy. Yet, the transition, a black hole in the law. No trials detailed for the likes of Yaxley or Selwyn. No international confederation audits on the corruption. How did they purge the old guard? Rewrite Azkaban's ledgers bloated with innocence. McGonagall took Hogwarts' helm, but the Ministry's rebuild. New departments for Muggle-born reparations, perhaps, faded into silence. Rowling's 1998 epilogue jumps 19 years ahead. Families boarding the Hogwarts Express, but the interim, a ghost story untold, where coups don't dissolve overnight, and old curses whisper in the corridors of power. Even the land itself bore scars no wand could fully mend. those Horcrux sites, vessels of Voldemort's fractured soul, pulsed with residual darkness long after their destruction. The gaunt shack in Little Hangleton, where the diary's roots twisted deep, did its floorboards still creak with Nagini's phantom hiss? Or did locals shun the overgrown graveyard where the riddle first bloomed? Godric's Hollow, scarred by the Potter's ruin in 1981, and Bathilda Bagshot's corpse, cursed home, in 1998. Surely lingered under a pall of ancient magic, the air humming with protective wards gone feral. The orphanage in London, Voldemort's cradle of rage, unnamed and unmapped, did its drains still weep with the echo of Tom Riddle's first cruelties? And Hogwarts itself, ringed by the Cup's dormitory hiding spot and the Diadem's room of requirement inferno, fiery ruins scrubbed clean, but what of the castle's bones? Stones soaked in Fiendfire's venomous residue, perhaps twisting new ghosts or cursing future feasts. Rowling dropped hints in interviews, dark magic's tenacity like a weed in enchanted soil, but no expeditions chronicled, no unspeakables dispatched to quarantine these poisoned wells. They stand as silent sentinels, reminding us that victory doesn't exorcise the past. In the hush after the battle, as dawn gilded the whomping willow's thrashing limbs, these gaps yawned widest. Weddings followed, Bill and Fleur's love enduring, Harry's union with Ginny. But the wizarding Britain's scaffolding, rebuilt in whispers we never heard, the apologies, the power shuffle, the haunted earth, they form a coda as enigmatic as the series' origins, begging questions that echo into silence. And as these aftermath shadows stretch long, prepare yourself for chapter 28, the unforgivable conclusion, where every thread we've unravelled pulls taut into revelations that will redefine the entire saga. You won't want to miss how it all ties together. As the dust settled over the shattered halls of Hogwarts in May of 1998, and the Ministry clawed its way back from the brink of total collapse, one question lingered in the smoke-filled air. What comes next for a world, scarred by secrets it could never quite bury? Kingsley's decisive leadership patched the immediate wounds, Aurors sweeping through the corridors to root out the last echoes of Death Eater influence, but the true architecture of power, the unspoken rituals, remained just out of reach, much like the whispers drifting from the veil, or the faint scurry of a rat on the Marauders Map. These gaps, these unforgivable omissions in J.K. Rowling's tapestry, don't weaken the wizarding world, they breathe life into it. Picture the ancient stone archway in the Department of Mysteries, its tattered veil fluttering like a breath from another realm, where Sirius Black vanished forever in June of 1996. We strain to hear those voices beyond, teasing us with promises of the afterlife. Yet Rowling leaves us hanging there, suspended in uncertainty. That pull, that ache for answers, mirrors the very essence of magic itself. An innate force without origin, surging through bloodlines from Merlin's shadowed era to Harry's desperate stand. Why do some children kindle sparks in their crypts, while muggles never feel the stir? The books glide past it, treating magic as eternal, uncreated. And in that silence, the world expands infinitely, inviting us to wonder if it's woven into the stars or born from some primordial curse. Turn to the Fidelius charm, that soul-binding veil over Grimmauld Place in 1995, where secrets lodge themselves in the hearts of the faithful until betrayal cracked them open. Peter Pettigrew's treachery in 1981 shattered the Potter's sanctuary, but the charm's deeper mechanics, how it threads a location into a living essence, defying counterspells, stay shrouded. No incantation reverses it cleanly. No textbook in Hogwarts library defices its soul-deep grip. This isn't oversight, it's deliberate opacity, making every hidden safe house feel perilously alive, every secret keeper a walking precipice. The Marauders Map compounds the intrigue, its inked corridors alive with footsteps, in the 1978 mischief of James, Sirius, Remus and Peter, yet blind to Pettigrew's rat form, skulking through the shadows of 1992. Fred and George Weasley pored over it for years, trading jabs at Snivelus, but missed the traitor inches from Ron's pocket. That flaw humanizes the creators, turns their masterpiece into a relic of youthful hubris, pulsing with the thrill of what might slip through even the sharpest gaze. Even the Deathly Hallows taunt us with their elusiveness. Harry's invisibility cloak, heirloom of Ignotus Peverell, drapes him in perfect concealment, yet Dumbledore's eyes pierce it in 1991 before the mirror of Erised, and Moody's magical gaze in 1994. Unblinking and electric, Hominum Revelio explains one glimpse, but the other's mechanics dissolve into ether, leaving us to ponder if true invisibility bends light or fools the soul. The Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone. They unite in Harry's grasp by 1998, crowning him master of death in legend if not fact, but their medieval myth lingers unresolved, a Peverell tale half told. Voldemort's limbo infant form, shriveled and mewling beneath the King's crossbench, symbolizes a fractured soul's remnants, yet its limbo defies mapping. Neither heaven nor hell, just an endless station wait. Creatures embody this same captivating void. Thestrals, those gaunt-winged haulers of Hogwarts carriages, elude Harry's sight till Cedric Diggory's murder in June of 1995. Despite the green flash of his mother's quilling curse in 1981, did infancy blur the comprehension, or does death demand a certain ripeness of grief? Fawkes the Phoenix, Dumbledore's fiery companion, weeps venom-neutralizing tears into Harry's basilisk-gashed arm in 1993, sparing the boy who unknowingly carried a Horcrux. Why the venom spares Harry only to ravage the diary remains a riddle wrapped in rebirth's glow. The Department of Mysteries hoards more. Time turners shattered in 1994, brains afloat in tanks, a locked chamber pulsing with love's raw force. All government secrets stored amid peril, their purposes as opaque as the veil's murmurs. Character quirks deepen the spell. Harry's glasses endure basilisk stares, and Avada Kedavras without a transfiguration fix, a muggle frailty in a wand-waving realm. Love potions flow unchecked through Hogwarts in 1996, ensnaring hearts like Romilda Vane's chocolates, legal despite their thrall, echoing the Weasleys' tangled histories. The taboo curse in 1998 turns Voldemort into a beacon for snatchers, its origins as murky as a goblin's Gringotts query on life's savings. Pre-Hogwarts magical children wander this unexplained limbo, accidents hushed under the Statute of Secrecy since 1692, their sparks untamed. These voids don't fracture the world, they forge its allure. Far from diminishing the saga, they amplify it, crafting a realm that feels vast and lived in, brimming with untold histories. J.K. Rowling poured out 7 novels from 1997 to 2007, resolving the prophecy's arc, Voldemort's downfall, Harry's triumph. But she withheld the scaffolding, the mundane gears beneath the enchantment. This invites the death of the author, that literary notion from Roland Barthes, where the creator steps aside post-publication, yielding the text to its interpreters. Rowling's intent fades. The books stand alone, their gaps clay for fans to mould. We've spun theories on the Veil as a one-way arch to the beyond. Fidelius as soul-anchoring ether, Thestrals demanding witnessed finality. Pottermore glimpses and Twitter asides tease, but never seal, fueling forums alive since the 90s. Debates on basilisk venom's selective fury, the Marauders' blind spots, Harry's spectacled persistence. Fans become the true architects, bridging pre-Hogwarts nurseries with suppressed wandless wonders, charting ministry vaults where time-turners once ticked backward. We've reclaimed the cursed child's retcons, forgiven Rowling's battle apologies, swapping Arthur Weasley for Lupin and Tonks amid the 1998 dead, by weaving our own seams. This collaborative mythos endures because it refuses completion, a world that whispers rather than shouts its truths. In the end, the Wizarding world's legacy thrives on this eternal unfinishedness, a magical Britain where ancient magics from Merlin's time bleed into the 90s shadows, forever hinting at more. It mirrors our own reality's mysteries, the spark of consciousness, the veil of death, binding us closer through shared speculation. As Hogwarts rebuilds, the Ministry reforms, and Harry raises his family under that flawless cloak, the unanswered calls from the Veil remind us. Some doors stay ajar, luring us back night after night. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.